Hey guys, let me know if you can hear me. Welcome back to Themis and Thought. Grab your coffee, water, tea, whatever you're drinking, go and get. I do actually want to know if you guys can hear me before I get into this, because I have tested with a lot of people and everyone has disagreed with me. I don't think I've met one person who agree with my analysis. So I decided instead of waiting until Tuesday to do this, I'm gonna do it today. By the way, I look a mess. I just came back from the gym, took a quick shower, and I can hear you sound beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're gonna talk about Hafiz. And I don't understand why everyone disagrees with me. Like, I'm actually at a loss. So at some point today, I'm going to open the panel up. And maybe after I've outlined how I've conceptualized what's happening with Hafiz, maybe you guys can come and tell me how I'm wrong. Because I don't think Hafiz is doing that poorly, right? Like, Hafiz is going down in terms of popularity and likability and all of that in the manosphere. And I think other people just don't trust him generally. But we'll get into it. Before we get there, let's go to some. Why is my hair doing that? Welcome everyone. This is Saturday. This is not something that I do, so we're just like kind of relaxing. All right. Before we get to Hafiz, I watched. Do you guys know who? Well, it's fine. Crystal and Sagar is. They are from Breaking Points. They used to be on a network. All kinds of foolishness happened. They started their own. Blah blah blah. Don't care. Don't care. But they brought someone on who is from Brookings, and he's talking about men and the problem with men today. And I think it's interesting because a lot of the talking points online, I think, aren't fully fleshed out. And part of the reason they're not fully fleshed out is because a lot of the people saying the things that they're saying aren't actually well read. They're not thoughtful in kind of what the implication of their points mean and kind of how to really analyze culture from a sociological perspective, yet there is an attempt to do it. I don't mind the attempt. I do mind, however, the lack of intellectual work that goes into content these days, right? So someone said, I see Themis got his weekend clothes on. Yeah, no, actually, I was gonna just put on clothes for this, but I just kind of want to chill. This is not a serious video, um, and I just kind of want to go through it because I'm going to attempt to defend Hafiz, which everyone has advised me against. But if I can drag, I can I can defend when I think someone is right. All right. But before we get to Hafiz, let's get into this conversation. Please like the video. Dislike it if you don't like it. But honestly, like, on a real note, this takes like actually 2 seconds. So like, please, the least I think we can do. I don't ask for anything, but I will ask for this. Please like the video, or dislike it. Or if you're like, I don't know what the video is about yet, so how can I like it? Wait, but please like it or dislike it before you go. At least engage with it in some way. All right, so let's watch this together and react. And not react, actually. We're going to talk about it.
Institute and is the author of a very interesting new book of Boys and Men, Why the Modern Male is Struggling, Why It Matters, and What to Do About It. Richard, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
He's also the author of a great book, Dream Hoarders. We were just talking about that. Phenomenal book. I highly recommend. We'll have links down in the description for you guys to go ahead and buy it. So, Richard, first of all, why did you decide to write this book? And what were the social kind of impetus and why you thought it was important to society to have this conversation?
Well, the first thing to say is I've raised 3 boys myself to adulthood, and I think all scholarship is a little bit autobiographical.
Yep.
There's the question of whether we admit it or not.
Yeah.
My last book, Dream Hoarders, was partly about the experience of being in the American upper middle class.
Right.
This is the experience of raising boys. But actually, in my day job, so I'm worried about boys at night because I've got 3, but in my day job, as I was working on issues of inequality in education, in employment, in the family, I just kept running across this gender gap, and not the way you'd expect to see it. I kept seeing ways in which it was boys and men who are really struggling. To be clear, it's mostly working class, boys and men, black boys and men. It's typically not the dream hoarders. It's not the upper middle class. But I don't think we can understand inequality in the US without understanding what's happening to boys and men. I also felt, frankly, there was a bit of a gap because both.
I hope you heard that. I was muted. I apologize. Let me pull it back a little bit, just a little bit, because I'm going to explain why I think this is important. It's just he doesn't obviously talk about race or anything, but he does momentarily, just a little bit. He just drops it in there and then moves on. But let's see.
To be clear, it's mostly working class, boys and men, black boys and men. It's typically not the dream hoarders. It's not the upper middle class.
You heard that. I'm going to do it one more time because I'm going to pause and explain why I'm doing this and why I think a lot of messages to me have stopped regarding dragging men. But let's play it again. Please listen to it.
Men who are really struggling. To be clear, it's mostly working class, boys and men, black boys and men. It's typically not education, in employment, in the family. I just kept running across this gender gap, and not the way you'd expect to see it. I kept seeing ways in which it was boys and men who are really struggling. To be clear, it's mostly working class, boys and men, black boys and men. It's typically not the dream hoarders. It's not the upper middle class. But I don't think we can understand inequality in the US without understanding what's happening to boys and men.
All right. So you guys definitely heard that, right? And I think it's important because a lot of the times when people when I'm saying we are not doing well, someone said black boys and men aren't doing well. And I think a lot of people think, oh, that is you being racist, that is you lying, that is you not telling why, all of that foolishness, right? And while there has to be a why, there's generally a why, we don't have to engage in that way. So when he's talking about the gender gap that exists, we generally talk about the pay gap. But even in terms of the pay gap, there is a skew towards women now, and as he will explain, there's a skew towards women, particularly for a certain group of people. He doesn't say like black lower class, black middle class, or black whatever. He says black men, and then he divides the other racial group into working class. So it is a general statement of how poorly we are doing. I'm going to play it back again because the separation being made is not about black men. Black men is a category in and of themselves. Men are struggling generally, but it's different kinds of men when we get to white. For example, it is the working class white man versus the middle class white man, right? But when it comes to black men, it is black men generally. It is just a very simple statement. And I think a lot of he's not right-winged, but a lot of the people who engage in the kind of literature who are white tend to shy away from explicitly talking about race as it relates to inequality. Obviously, well, I'm not going to say obviously. Let's not go there and hypothesize on theorize on certain things. Let's go back.
Education, in employment, in the family. I just kept running across this gender gap, and not the way you'd expect to see it. I kept seeing ways in which it was boys and men who are really struggling. To be clear, it's mostly working class, boys and men, black boys and men. It's typically not the dream hoarders. It's not the upper middle class. But I don't think we can understand inequality in the US without understanding what's happening to boys and men. I also felt, frankly, there was a bit of a gap because both sides politically are so dug in the culture wars around issues of sex and gender that it's even hard to have a book with that title without getting a reaction from people.
Yeah.
And so I almost felt like, as a Brookings scholar.
He is talking about, well, I think he's going to probably talk about it globally, but he's talking about the US. He lives in the US.
Given the work I've done, that trying to create a better conversation. We need a better conversation about re-scripting masculinity than we're currently getting, and this book is my attempt to do that.
Fascinating.
So part of why you get that pushback is because when we look around at society, you say, all right, look at the US Congress, still overwhelmingly male. We've still only had men as presidents. You look at the CEOs, they're like, there's some stat, there's like more CEOs named Bob than there are female CEOs or something like that. I think you've talked about, venture capital and what a small proportion of that goes to female founders. So when you look at those things and then you're like, yeah, but the real problem is with men, I can imagine why people are like, well, wait a second. It seems like the issue is on the other side. So how do you sort of square that circle?
Yeah, well, it depends where you're looking.
Great question, terrible execution. Great question, terrible execution. Ultimately, the reality is men control almost every structure in the society. If men in the society are failing, it is not because women have created systems in place that puts men at a disadvantage. The structure in the community, the structure in the society are created, dominated, perpetuated, literally controlled by men. So that men are failing is a consequence of poor structure by men, or just their inability to compete. Right? That's the question. The question she's asking fundamentally is, men are failing in a system that is created and maintained by men. Why? How is this possible? See, I think, I wish people were more assertive in the ask, but I do recognize, let's hear his response to that. But that's ultimately the question about men. And by the way, again, she's talking about the research he just pointed out. I'm not even going into anything. He pointed out that this is about Black men and the working class men. So the reality is the Black men and the working class men aren't the one creating the systems. They just live in the system. So if he's talking about men who are failing, the men at the top creating the system and the culture for these men at the bottom aren't doing so to help these men at the bottom. Like, we can have a real conversation about that. You don't juxtapose men incompetence with women doing well in a system that is created by men. But let's continue.
Yeah.
If you're looking around the apex of society and you're looking at those sorts of institutions, then clearly there's much further to go. And I've written about the need to get more women into Congress. The US is a real laggard on that front. And as for not having a female president yet, as you can probably tell, I come from the UK and we're on our third female president.
Yeah. This one doesn't seem to be working out so well. We'll just leave that aside.
Have you back another day.
Yes,
but the point was, like, it was just no big deal.
Yeah.
And you're right, in Fortune 500 companies, only 44 of them are led by women right now. Now, go back 20 years and it was 0. So that's 44 more than it used to be, but it's very, very far from parity. But if you look down, if we look down at what's happening with the rest of society, most American men today earn less than most American men did in 1979.
Yes.
There's a huge gender gap in education. Men are 3 times more likely to die from a death of despair, from alcohol, suicide, drug overdose. And so the trouble is that people who are just living in these elite circles look around and go, well, I don't see it. And so, well, partly it might be there and you're not seeing it, but also just look down. Look at the rest of society. We've seen such a big increase in economic inequality that we have to think about both those things at once. And partly this book is a challenge to say, can we think 2 things at once? Can we think?
All right. So he says, look down. Now, everyone has a problem when we say, if you have more money, if you have this, if you have that, it is dating down when you decide to go down. Like, it is what it is. So you can feel how you want to feel about that. It is what it is, right? It is crude. It might be disconcerting to you. It is fine. But he just said, look down. Now, my problem, who is he looking down at? He's looking down. He's telling them to look down at Black men and the working class men. Oh, you didn't catch that? You didn't catch that? You didn't catch that? In the beginning, he said the people doing poor are the Black men and the working class men. That's where the disparity is. And the people at the top are doing well, right? So they can see the issues that the men at the bottom are dealing with. And he told them to look down. All right, so period, look down. Because everyone is like, oh my God, you dragging black men, disparaging. No, this is what the research says, and this is how people are contemplating the issues. Looking down seems a bit harsh to me. I feel like y'all should go drag this man, but no, don't drag him, because he's not wrong in his assessment of what is happening in the world. Women are able and are now outcompeting men academically. Now, who is telling men they shouldn't go to school? That's what. Well, let's get into it, because I'm gonna wait till he gets there. Remind me that I should talk about this when he gets there. But it's frustrating to me because on one hand we have groups of intellectuals who are going around and trying to figure out how to get men into school and get men to value education. Meanwhile, you have groups of men on the other hand telling women not to go to school, that their education doesn't matter, that they should be focused on being a wife. Being a wife to who? These women are outcompeting men. There is no woman that is going to give up all her life to go be with a man who can provide when she can be doing it herself. The whole point is that the 1950s paradigm where the man is the head of the household leading it is not working anymore because men can't compete. And this man pointed out, Brookings, right, pointed out that it is black men and the working class, right? So, and the working class encompasses a lot of men. Like, I'm not doing that to make it disparaging to one group, but the idea that he put black in a category of its own and then the working class in a category of its own, he's saying, look, I'm not about to say white man. I'm not about to say white man and black men. I'm not about to say the working class generally. I'm going to separate the white men into different groups, and I'm just going to say black men altogether. I can't. I wish I was interviewing him on that. Because I definitely am going to ask, isn't it also the working class black man? Isn't it like, is the middle class black man also not doing well? Oh, wait, black men get into the middle class when they combine their income with the black woman. So, I see what you're saying. Got it. I think Annalicia was here. I could have sworn I saw her. Well, oh my God, I need to hurry up and get through this because Hafeez video is actually quite long.
I think there's much more to do for women in certain sectors of society, but now we also need to look at boys and men. And right now, it's proving very difficult to have that conversation.
Even breaking into that paradigm is just so tremendously hard. As you said, without getting coded, right wing. I've almost frankly given up, so I admire you for being able to try to fight the good fight. Point to some of the important data that you're saying there about the lifespan, about overall earnings, about deaths of despair, and why should women care about it? Why should women care about how men are doing in society?
Yeah, so in education, I think just to put a few data points on it, we've long worried about.
Oh no, let me not forget this part. Men are dying from death of despair. So remember the psychologists that came out that talk about lonely men? The result is them dying from these death of despair, right? And so if we are thinking about that, it is more useful for men to have partners because it is less likely that they will have these quote unquote death of despair. And I think that is kind of important to couch how you're understanding how these men are like, oh, I will not date you, you're undateable. No, sir, you are undateable. You need someone to be in your life to make sure that you're not, look, let's go. And I think you need to recognize this. I think you fundamentally need to recognize this if you are to improve.
Gender inequality in education, but it's typically been worrying about getting girls and women.
No, he's not. He's not speaking. You asked, is he speaking? I thought you said he's speaking. The United States. He opened up, we're talking about the United States. And he being a middle class in the United States. But the reality is about how people are doing is women are outcompeting men is global to the extent that you're in a place where women have equal opportunity for education and employment. Now, obviously, in places where women can't even enter the workforce, they wouldn't be doing well. But yeah, this is a Western phenomena that he is trying to explain through what I think is a US lens based on what he said in the beginning.
To catch up with boys and men. And so in 1972, the US passed the famous Title IX legislation to try and get more girls and women into college in particular. At that point, men were about 13 percentage points more likely to get a college degree than women. Today, it's 15 percentage points more likely that a woman will get it than a man.
Wow.
So the gender gap is actually bigger in college education today than when Title IX was passed. It's just the other way around. It's flipped. If we look at high school GPA, you've got a high schooler, and I've had some recently. High school GPA is a really good measure because A, it's increasingly important in college admissions, and B, it's quite a good proxy for overall success. Let's look at high school GPA. The top performers in terms of high school GPA, those in the top 10%, destined for good colleges, 2/3 girls. The bottom 10%, 2/3 boys. And that is actually found in pretty much every country in the world, pretty much every level of the education system. So a massive reversal in the gender gap in education. What that means is that struggling to hit the labor market in the employment, you've talked a lot about this, in automation, free trade, like what's happened to the working class men. Working class men can't get the jobs their dad got with the same level of education. And so there's been a really difficult adjustment for men in the labor market. And one of the consequences of that is for family formation. So we see a number of men now who effectively get benched because they're not fulfilling the traditional male role. We haven't re-scripted a role for them. And so they end up out of touch with their kids' lives, which is particularly bad for their sons, actually.
That's one of the things I think is most important is, especially I think in American society, we have this concept of masculinity that is centered around being the breadwinner.
Correct.
And then when you make it more and more difficult to fulfill that role, it's like, okay, well, what am I then? What is the role that I'm supposed to, or am I just a failure? Like, am I terrible? And that opens up a window for people who maybe don't have the best messaging to come in and say, well, it's these, I was going to say these B words, but it's these ladies over here who are really your problem.
It's a feminist fault.
Nice. That's right. It's a feminist fault. There you go.
And that's exactly the debate we're having right now. And I think what we see on the left is an unwillingness to acknowledge some of these issues at all, for fear that means betraying your commitment to women, which we've already talked about. But on the right, there's this sort of magical thinking, which is, let's go back to the way things used to be. Let's go back to the way men and women knew their place, and to marriages based on economic dependency. We live in a world now where 40% of women earn more than the average man.
Right.
That was 13% in 1979. And so 41% of households have a female breadwinner. This has been a huge change. And a wonderful change, arguably the biggest economic liberation in human history. What it means, though, is that old model of masculinity, of masculine success, is not coming back. And politicians on the right, who somehow think they can wave a magic wand and bring it back, are selling everyone a lie. So the left are effectively turning their backs on boys and men, but the right are trying to turn back the clock on women and girls. And everybody I know is just trying to figure this out. And we need a model of mature masculinity that is compatible with gender equality.
One of the things I think is
we need masculinity that is compatible with. Look, let me. They're going to bring it up again, so I'll do this quickly. Who is online talking about women aren't logical and women aren't there? Women are able to outcompete men in school. They're apparently smarter. They're doing better economically. Yet there is this notion that women are illogical creatures that need not be listened to. Look, please, oh my God. When I came online, what is being, like, he wrote a whole book that I definitely didn't read. I probably should buy the book and read it. I will buy the book, whatever. Because now I'm talking about his points. Brookings, I cite to the Brookings a lot. Whatever, I'll buy it, whatever. And I will read it. And I will let you know if you can read it. But I don't think I need this book. We have talked about this. Any person who sat down and looked at the state of the community, Black community, they're talking globally, and they're talking about also in terms of nationally, all races of men. But we've talked about this. Other races are just now seeing what it's like when women are smarter. Or women are allowed to go to school, or when women are able to engage in the kinds of learning, right, and the kind of independence and agency that was afforded to men and restricted when it comes to women, we are now seeing, wait, maybe we were wrong. Like, maybe we were wrong. Maybe women aren't just naturally dumb. Maybe the fact that they couldn't go to school, so when you brought up ideas and theories in the home, they might not have known what those were. Now that the playing field is even, that they're out competing you, maybe they're not so illogical, maybe they're not so dumb, maybe they're actually better.
Important about your book is you actually offer some potential solutions. So let's talk about it. One of some of the things that you offer, societal-wide changes that could be piloted or at the very least thought about experimenting in America.
Well, first of all, thank you for asking that question, because I do think books suffer sometimes from they become like the Book of Lamentations.
Yes.
Everything's wrong with the world, and then maybe one idea at the end. So I felt I did want to offer some solutions. So in education, for example, I have 3 ideas. One is that we should start boys in school a year later than girls, because their brains mature later. A 16-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girl, I think you have a 14-year-old.
Yes.
And I raise them, they're not the same. We know that boys' brains develop more slowly, which is one of the reasons for those GPA gaps we've talked about. So start them, redshirt them, is sometimes how it's described. We need a massive recruitment drive of male teachers. I think the fact that the teaching profession is becoming progressively more female is a problem. 24% of K-12 teachers now are men, only 1 in 10 elementary school teachers, and getting fewer by the year.
Interesting.
And that does seem to have an effect on boys, especially in subjects like English. And then we need more vocational education.
Is there anyone telling men not to go be teachers? Why are there structures preventing men from being teachers? Because all I remember when I wanted to do Teach for America, is the program Teach for America? I think the program was Teach for America. They literally begged me to do it. I ultimately didn't do it, but I should have, because apparently we need more men to be teaching. I mean, some people say I'm not a man, so maybe not me. But there was a concerted effort to get more male teachers involved. Now, did they go there? No. How are you going to get male teachers if they're not going to school? You just pointed out they're not going to school. No one is stopping them from going to school. They're just not going. Look, I don't understand. Like, I do recognize that the system seems to be bad. Whatever. Not whatever. That's important. But the rhetoric around who is a teacher, like there are men online saying that women are teachers because they're better at teaching, men shouldn't be teachers. It's not like the system is telling men, you should not be teachers. Men are telling men they shouldn't be teachers. Even if it's the system, who is creating the culture that says, if you're a nurturer, if you are a teacher, you are a woman. And if you're a nurse, you're a woman, right? But the doctor is the man. A lot of men can't be doctors because they're just not gonna. When I say scientist, don't you see a white man with like I see Frank. So why is that so funny? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be laughing because it's actually kind of serious. When I say scientist, you do see a white man with white hair, right? Like we have these ideas, we call them controlling images about what you should and should not do. So when Einstein, someone says, when we talk about controlling images, we are stepping into ideas about what we can and cannot do based on ideas that are being perpetuated. Who perpetuates these ideas? We can blame the system, but there are humans behind the system. Erica says, I have a question. How do you let someone who develops slower than you to lead you? And period. 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 These men on here talking about women aren't logical, women are emotional, women can't lead, but you develop slower. Period. Period. The men saying skip school, just use all commas. Wait, let's continue. I'm not hurt by this at all, by the way, at all.
A big investment in apprenticeships and voc tech and so on, which do seem to help boys and men a little bit more. So there's always focus on college. There's a unitary path and college loan forgiveness, which again, I know you've talked about. But meanwhile, what we see for boys is that hands-on learning seems to work better for them. And so just in education, those are the sorts of ideas that I'm offering.
Sure.
One thing that I thought is, so I don't necessarily, in fact, I don't agree with this, but what would you say to people who are basically like, okay, you opened up the education, you made it so that women could compete. Women are competing, and actually they're better at this than boys. What's the problem? This is supposed to be a grand meritocracy, and now you want to do like affirmative action for boys to like tilt the system in their favor. That doesn't seem fair.
Well, it's actually.
My problem with her questioning, this is the second time she did it. My question with her questioning, my issue with her question is the same I had with Hafeez. You need to stick to something. If that is your opinion, don't try to appease your audience by saying, oh, some people will think, no, you're a woman. You felt like you were that girl, and you are that girl. So ask the question. It is a valid question. What do you say? Not say, some people would say, no, ask the question. What do you say about the fact that you open up the field? It's now a level playing field. It is. Everyone have the same kind of access as it relates to education, right? Women are just now out competing men. Men who have had an advantage ever since the development of this country, excluding Black men, women are now able to go in and out compete them. Now, we can talk about a culture that says education isn't important. You can do that, but you don't get to sit there and say, oh my God, we need to make the system better for men. It's not affirmative action. Also, you got me all kinds of wrong, lady. When you say, oh, what do you mean we need some kind of affirmative action to help men? No, it wouldn't be affirmative action to help men because men historically have not been disenfranchised. As a group, men, unless we're talking about Black men generally aren't disenfranchised when it comes to competing against women. Women were the one who did not have a political life. They could not even vote. So if you're going to try to skew the system to help men, I'm not saying don't do it, right? I'm not there yet. I'm not saying don't do it, but when you do that kind of manipulation of the system to help men over women, that is not affirmative action. There was no historical wrong. There is not an inability for men to have access to the system. They can, they just don't. They're not, quote unquote, developing at the speed or as early as women. That is completely different. So while your question by and large is good, terming whatever we are going to do to the system to help develop men into better leaders or whatever and be able to compete would not be affirmative action. You absolutely are wrong about your understanding of affirmative action. I'm not going to let that go. But now I'm going to let that go and say your question, however, is fear. Don't say those people. Ask your question. As a woman, like you said, I am able to outcompete men because now we can go to school when we couldn't go to school. Now men and women can go to school. It's an even playing field, and I'm doing better than those men. Why should I care? Ask your question. Talk your talk. Talk your talk. Get in. Get your job. Get your 1-2 licks in. Period. They took vocational trade classes out of school. Well, I think they need to put those back.
Actually, I half agree with you, even if you don't completely agree. Because that's exactly what's happened. What's happened in education.
Whoever this man is kind of smart. I like that. I half agree with you, even if you don't agree with you. So you're going to ask me the question, talk about some people that I don't fully agree with this. And he's like, oh, well, if it's not yours, but I half agree with you, even if you don't agree with you, because she has an idea. She has an idea. She's asking her question with her ideas in her question. And he calls her out, not in a mean way anyway, but I like it. I'm here for it.
Is that we've created a playing field which is much more even. And what that's demonstrated is that actually women and girls are at a structural advantage in the education system. So we've created a level playing field, and it turns out that the women and girls are better players. But they're better players largely because of the developmental differences, because their brains develop earlier, and especially the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is a bit of your brain that says, do your chemistry homework rather than going out to party. Maybe you should care about your GPA because that will help you get into college. It's about future orientation. It's about the ability to control yourself, and it just develops a year or two later in boys than girls. And so I actually think that
So men develop later than boys. Who should lead what now? There's a structural advantage. He did not mean structural advantage. He meant there is a biological advantage, because he said there's a structural advantage to women because their brains develop faster than men. Well, it sounds like there is a biological advantage, because you did not explain a structural advantage. The advantage that exists structurally that appeases or allows for women to outcompete men were created by men. There's a system in place. Look, the system has not fundamentally changed outside of the modes of production since, I'm talking about the education system, right? Has not fundamentally changed since before women could vote. So the idea that women were the ones who created the system would be like asinine. Like it's not real. That being said, because men created the system, you now don't get to go complain and say women can outcompete me in the system. No, you made a system that was beneficial to women and you prevented them from engaging in that system. So don't be mad that now they're able to compete. No, don't do that. It sounds like you're so a loser of a game that you already rigged yourself. Welcome to the membership, MJ. Also, are you supposed to slow your chat? Let me play it. I'm going to play it and then slow my chat, but I like listening because I don't want to miss. Like, every word feels like it means more than it's being said, and it can be analyzed in so many different ways. So I don't want to like take my eye and ear off of it, but I'll do it. Let me slow the chat down while he talks.
We're seeing one of the great ironies is that by taking the brakes off girls and women in the education system, we've revealed the structural advantages they had all along. We couldn't see it because they weren't going to college.
Right.
Under conditions of sexism, we couldn't see the advantages that girls and women had.
See, this is why I didn't want to go slow down the chat. I'm slowing down the chat and he's talking about advantage. I'm going to pause. I'm going to rewind it a little because I do know I need to react to that and talk about that. But let's go to YouTube and slow down this chat for you guys. Because y'all were out here thinking women were just not great. They were not doing well. They were just this, they were that. But the reality is, obviously, everyone seems dumb if they can't go to school, right? Everyone seems like they weren't smart enough. And you can say women are not logical if women weren't able to get an education. Say women weren't able to provide when they could not get a job. Those made sense. Now that we even the playing field, you are now crying. Crying about what? Why are you crying now, sir? Not him, not him. I'm talking about generally on the manosphere. Talking about women are masculine now. No, you're just not it. You can't live up to the standard that you set for yourself. So now let's, instead of saying, oh, masculinity, now that men can't live up to masculinity and being a provider, let's now redefine masculinity for the modern man. Because that's ultimately what the book is about. Redefining masculinity. That's what he said. I haven't read the book. So now that men aren't able to compete, we're going to just change the rules again. All right, period. Let's do it.
GPA, because that will help you go into college. It's about future orientation. It's about the ability to control yourself, and it just develops a year or two later in boys than girls. And so I actually think that we're seeing one of the great ironies is that by taking the brakes off girls and women in the education system, we've revealed the structural advantages they had all along. We couldn't see it because they weren't going to college.
Right.
Under conditions of sexism, we couldn't see the advantages that girls and women had in education. And nobody expected this overtaking, by the way. If you go back to the 70s when everyone was pushing hard correctly for girls and women to do better, nobody said, well, wait, what if the lines keep going? And does it matter? Well, to the extent that education matters, increasingly in the modern economy, I think we should be worried about any inequalities by group, whether that's race, gender, etc. So I don't think on its face there's any reason to be more relaxed about the gender gap now.
If he, hurry up and eat, that guy says if it is true for men versus women, imagine what he thinks of black women in the, look. I mean, I think maybe people who have this ideology who are white are going to probably be upset with black women because I think black women were the prototype. I mean, obviously black women were the prototype. Like, in a world where there was racism and that restricted anyway men from competing, black men, black women had to work. So black women would have been the prototype for what would have happened to the world in the future, in that when women have to self-actualize, This is what you get.
Now than in the 1970s, just because it's the other way around.
Well, something you alluded to also is at the individual level, parenting. What do you think, if any, changes need to come to the way that people parent, especially in either like a mixed gender household, or in your case, you have 3 boys, like what should at the individual level, at the end of the day, we could talk about solutions. We have a lot of people listening to this show, maybe they have kids. What should they be thinking about with regards to your book?
Well, I think the first thing is something not to do. And I think it's not to fall into the trap of thinking there's something toxic about masculinity. I do think that this term toxic masculinity has become itself toxic, frankly, because the message that society is then sending, which I think parents can absorb and inadvertently pass on, is there's something wrong with you. And so if you're behaving in a particular way, which on average is more associated with being male, then I think that to pathologize that, say physicality or more potential for aggression and so on, is not the way to help boys learn to manage that. So recognize there are some differences between them. It's a myth, there are no differences. Absolutely you want equality of opportunity for both. Interestingly, now there's some evidence that people are starting to think it's more important for their girls to get a good education than their boys. And that's not true. And I'm very worried that in some households, and this seems to be particularly true in more working class households, that educational success itself is being seen as more feminine. And it's incredibly important to send.
Who is telling men that education is more feminine? Go ahead. Let me know. Is it men or women that are saying education is more feminine? Put it in the chat, because what you're not going to do is lie. There is a distinction being made. I am not in white households. I am not in white Hispanic households. I'm not in Asian households. So I'm not speaking from their perspective. I'm speaking from the Black perspective. And listening to the Black men online and in real life and around the world. Who is out there? Who are the ones out there telling them that education is feminine? Because I remember multiple men come on this stream to talk about how education is not that important. I've had people debate about whether or not education is a great equalizer. I've had men come on here to tell me that because you go to school doesn't mean you're going to do well, and that it's likely you do better if you don't go to school. I've had men come on here and say this. By the way, we haven't even gotten to Hafeez. I got there sent, and I won. I remember having a debate with men on here early on in the channel live, where men were saying education was feminine. And I said, actually, when we go back historically, the ability to sit around and have conversation about philosophical concept was seen as a very masculine thing to do. Women weren't even able to get educated at one point in history. That's how masculine it was. I'm not sure where it's coming from that education is feminine, but it is coming from men, at least in the Black community. Now, are women buying into this? Yeah. Most curriculums taught in school is very male patriarchy focused. Girls are discouraged from pursuing STEM. How are they failing in their own environment? Yeah, this is, thank you for pointing out STEM, Maya. Yeah. No theme is these masculine female infiltrators turned education, period. Period. Like, as if when you go to university, you have to go into the social sciences. Right? Like, oh my God, now I have to go learn about all the different no one told you to do that. I'm going to do it because I care, but no one told you to do it.
Message to the boys that actually you succeeding at school, you having chances at college or apprenticeships is just as important as your sister.
Right.
It feels weird to be saying this. Even now, because it's so recent. But the educational overtaking is so fast and so recent that honestly, our heads are spinning. It's like the poles on a compass reversing.
Right.
Like north became south overnight. And so I understand why we're all struggling. I've struggled with it, frankly, as I've been writing the book. But the evidence is pretty clear now that if we're worried about education, we need to worry about boys.
So if the old story we've told.
So boys need to get educated. Not that women need to stop being educated. Boys need to get educated. Agreed. Nothing I disagreed with. Agreed. Men should go to school. Agreed. School is not for everyone. I recognize that, blah, 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 blah. My statement still stands.
About like what it means to be a man is not functioning well in society. What does a new story sound like?
Yeah, we definitely need a new script for masculinity. I think that what's happened for women, I'd be interested to know if you agree with this,
Okay.
is there was an old script which was get married.
False. Women aren't discouraged from STEM, they're not smart enough. Okay, so men aren't discouraged from school, they're just not smart enough. Like, we too can play that game, right? Women are women are more educated than men. So if you're talking about STEM specific, then sure. I don't believe this, but let's take your word for it. Women are just not smart enough for STEM. Got it. Period. You see how simply you just put that out there? Now we can simply say men are just not smart enough. It's not a systemic issue that's preventing men from going to school. Men aren't smart enough. Oh, wait, men aren't getting jobs and employment. It's not a systemic issue. Men just aren't good enough to get these jobs. And by the way, I'm not going to go into your sentence structure because you're typing in the comments, but it's not whatever. I'm not going to correct it. I don't think you were, whatever. Not speak life into them, but breathe. Adrian. No, look, it is interesting that in a conversation centering the lack of academic achievement around man, that a man comes in here and just destroys all of it by saying, oh, wait, no, women aren't smart enough to be in STEM. That's why they're not there. All right, but they're smart enough to get to school. You are not smart enough to even get into school. Like, I don't understand why you thought that was a burn. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that you would say that in a conversation that's talking about how we need to get more men into school because they're not going. You are saying women aren't going into STEM specific field because they're not smart enough. Okay, sure, I can concede that it's not real. But let's even concede that to assume arguenda. Women aren't smart enough to get into STEM. That's not why they're not going there. So men generally aren't smart enough to get into college. Is that the next step? So only the few smart men who are smarter than women can get into STEM, but at least most women can get into school, and most men just can't get into school because you're not smart enough. Is that your logic? You can go with your stance at the end of the day when overwhelming outnumber women in STEM careers, irrespective of how much education they... I don't know what you're talking about.
Married, get kids, have a stable family, etc. I'm simplifying.
Yeah.
The new script is get educated, get yourself independent, make sure you can take care of yourself. You go, girl, right? Make sure you can stand on your own feet. Very strong script. So we've replaced an old script with a new script for women. The old script for men, become a breadwinner, look after your family. The new script for men, not sure yet.
Right.
And that's the problem. And so a re-scripted, positive vision of masculinity has to be founded on, I think, some...
You want to know something interesting? We are now in the world where men don't have a purpose, essentially, is what he's saying, right? Men used to be go to school, go to work, provide for your family. Women, go get your man, have your children, provide. Now, women can provide for themselves and take care of themselves. They're no use for men. So now we need to restructure society so men have purpose. We need to restructure society so men have purpose. This sounds like the preacher who was saying, you need to create room in your life for men to lead or whatever. Period. Lie to these men. But look, I'm laughing, but it's not funny. I do think the way in which we conceptualize manhood should change. But these men say they're going to restructure society. This is power. This is some real power. I can't meet the standard for society anymore. So guess what I'm going to do instead of me trying to reach it? I'm going to just restructure the society. Period. And what about it? And what about it? And what about it? I'm just going to restructure. I'm just going to redefine manhood. Period. Period. I mean, I am for redefining it. Like, I'm not pretending like I'm not. I'm just like, period. The minute you can't do it, you just restructure it. And that's that on that.
some things that sound quite old, which is you do provide for your kids, but not just money, time and care, etc. So I think we need to start with fatherhood. The danger is that as the old model of masculinity has collapsed in the face of the changes that we've just mentioned, is that fathers get benched. The message that they get from themselves very often and from women and from society is you failed as a breadwinner, ergo you don't matter as a father. That's absolutely the opposite of the truth. And so we need equal paid leave for fathers. Fathers who are not married to mothers need much stronger rights than they currently get. We have to send a message through policy and through rhetoric that fathers matter, period. Go back to the speech Barack Obama gave in 2008 about the importance of fathers.
That's right. He was actually
So I agree, fathers matter and we need fathers in the life, and fathers should be providing more than financial support. Unfortunately, for a group of women and a group of people, the men aren't even providing financial support, have never been providing financial support. But that's neither here nor there. I do actually agree that fatherhood is more than the amount of money you can give to a child. Like, I do agree with that. If that was a black man who is talking about STEM, he's still not talking about black men. The troll is aligned with white men. Sir, read the... Yeah, I mean, the troll is aligned with the man who says the white man at the top should look down at the working class and black man. So, period. You just come in swinging.
On the money, absolutely on the money, and didn't really touch it again since. And so I don't think we're going to reconstitute marriage in the way that conservatives think we can, but we need to put fatherhood back on a pedestal, just a new kind of pedestal.
That's what I love about your work. You're trying to reform and, recognize the realities, the social progresses we made, and not diminish them in any way, but just say, no, we need to find a new equilibrium, and that isn't always rooted in like being in 1960s individual.
Yeah,
You don't have to go back to go forward.
Yes.
Well, and I did want to ask you one other social trend that I actually did a monologue on, which is that far fewer young people, either Democrat or Republican, are identifying as feminists.
Okay, I don't care about the whole feminist conversation. A lot of people don't want to be labeled feminist because blah, 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 blah. All right. So that was almost an hour of an opening. This was me saying we need a new kind of pedestal for period. Period. That was me opening and saying we now need to find a new way to define masculinity and manhood because men can no longer provide. Caveat: working class and black men. That's what he said, not me. Don't come at me. Go at him. Black men and working men cannot provide. So working men at some point in their life could have provided, but now they can't. Black men were just added as another category. Just an FYI, don't at me, at him. Men can't subjugate women anymore, so now we need to redefine masculinity. Yeah, period. That's essentially what he is saying. Thank you, Sunnyside. Yep, period. So in that note, let's get into some things about Hafeez. This is going to be hard, and y'all going to hate me, so let's do it. Dear black man, that man said, get back in line behind your women. Period. We gonna be defining the period. All right. So Hafeez. I've talked about Hafeez a lot on this channel, and I think it's high time that I explain myself a little bit. I don't think Hafeez is one of the worst people who was a part of Red Pill. Make no mistake about this, Hafeez was a part of the manosphere, right? Now, the reason I've always kind of brought Hafeez up is because I was always disappointed. I was disappointed in the fact that I think he could have done better. Now, am I right or am I wrong? We will find out at the end of this video, but I've always assumed he could have done better. When Hafeez and the roommates started, they started as an interview sort of manosphere. Well, not manosphere, an interview channel, right? They wanted to talk to people about life and experience and wealth. And this is 4 years ago, they had more videos that they removed, but we're not going to get into those. But at some point, it was only about interview. Like, if you go through the archives, This was all about just like interviewing people, asking about them, asking about how they got to where they got to, success, all of that stuff. During the pandemic, it shifted. The roommates shifted. Let me move up some. And they started, and they also removed some of their videos. I know because I downloaded a couple of them. I'm waiting for that moment when Hafiz pops up on this channel and I can show him the videos of him talking. Those two, at least four of which, I was going to say two, he deleted, right? And at some point during the pandemic, it changed into kind of they going on the Fresh and Fit podcast, them talking to women, them telling us about modern women and all of that foolishness about how hard modern woman is. This happened during the pandemic and the rise of Kevin Samuels, right? Male content creator went into what I call an extreme sort of overdrive of attacking women, right? Because and this is how the ecosystem online works, right? If you are seeing someone doing well, everyone just starts copying it and they start putting content out to make money in that way. But Hafeez have never crossed the line of just pure red pill rage. I will always give him that. A lot of the other men that I've talked about he has not, right? And I always thought it was fascinating because I don't think he could. The reason he couldn't, in my opinion, is that Hafeez, whether he can or cannot, wants to be seen as a man who helps men and who is a religious, sort of God-fearing person. That belief is antithetical to the manosphere. Because what the manosphere preaches, and a large part of the manosphere preaches, is that women are bad, women are disgusting, not anything different from some people understanding of the Bible, but they specifically do not like marriage. And they believe marriage is a trap for men that men should not engage in if they can, right? Like, and the whole quote unquote, I'm going to be crude now, but pump and dump, right? The pickup artistry of it all cannot be in alignment with Hafeez's version of Christianity. So Hafiz was holding a very contradicting sort of position by being both a part of the manosphere and engaging with these men. I honestly believe, and Hafiz is a shapeshifter, I saw that comment, but I do believe fundamentally that Hafiz is better than that and better than those people who are engaging in that kind of content creation, even though he was a part of it. That has always been my belief, and I was disappointed. That does not mean he has the potential that I thought he had. Because I'm not going to play this. And the reason I'm not going to play this is because I think he did really poorly in it, but he went up against Coach Greg Adams, right? And when Hafiz went up against Coach Greg Adams, he lost. He lost horribly. In sum, Hafiz argued that marriage should be something that men strive for. He believes marriage can work. He doesn't have a prenup. Now, I don't know about you, but if I get married, I'm having a prenup. I don't care who I'm marrying. I'm getting a prenup. I don't really care. It is a fact. I am not about to if you get married without a prenup, I don't know what to tell you. But if I get married, I'm getting a prenup. However, Hafiz doesn't have a prenup, and he's talking to Coach Greg Adams, and he's trying to express the beauty and amazingness of marriage and blah, blah, blah. And Coach Greg Adams, if that were a debate, won the debate because my problem with Hafiz now, Hafiz does not articulate himself well. Hafiz does not know how to control his emotion, and Hafiz's energy is all over the place. I likened it to a child who is about to throw a tantrum, holding back his tantrum. Now, you can say Hafiz has a speaking impediment. I don't care. I have an accent. I'm not about to talk about a person's speech impediment. I pick up on it because I was very attuned to my own accent. When I came to America, I wanted to change it. And so I was in speech therapy and I was like, okay, girl, this is not going to work. My accent is my accent is my accent. And I've learned to love my accent and become sort of comfortable talking the way that I talk over time because it wasn't British, my accent wasn't Jamaican, and it wasn't American. Like my accent was just all over the place, and it was very difficult for people to want. I thought it was difficult for people to understand me. I didn't realize people were just being annoying, and they did understand. They just wanted me to keep talking. All right. So I got that out of the way, but I am now very attuned to other people's way of speaking, their timbre, their tone, all of that. I am very much aware of it now. So hearing Hafiz speak, I was like, all right, I don't hate this guy. He sounds like a guy with a speech impediment who wants to, and him wanting to be a speaker with that kind of speech impediment, whatever it is, I can respect that he puts himself out there, and it seems like he is attempting to be better. Now, is he better? No, because he doesn't seem comfortable. He seems like he's trying to be someone he's not in a way that he's modeling behavior after someone, but like he's actually trying to completely transform into something that he's not. It feels inauthentic. And that has been a problem, but I'm going to let that go because I don't know Hafiz, and this might actually be who he is. So I'm not going to sit here and theorize about him in that way. Got it. Hafiz now is arguing with men that he would once agree with. Hafiz is now finding himself pushing back against the manosphere. Here is the thing about that. If you're going to do that, please have your talking points ready. Please be able to articulate yourself, and please, at least at the bare minimum, know what it is that you stand for. The reason I am willing to defend Hafiz, not in the most obvious sense of the word, but defend him in that, like, I do actually believe he's trying, is that he gains nothing from pushing this new message. Hafiz has the world to gain by continuing down the red pill path, right? Or the manosphere path. Him changing right now is only going to cripple his business and his channel. He's going to be demonized. And because of all of that, someone said Hafiz is a scammer, period. Because of all of that, I am willing to say that Hafiz is attempting to do what he thinks is right. Now, he's actually selling suits and things like that. I don't know about a person's business. I'm not going to get into a person's business like that. It is what it is. If he is scamming or not scamming, I don't know. I'm not telling anyone to go buy anything from him. I'm saying from an audience perspective, I do actually feel for him now because it takes an incredible, I think, it takes an incredible layer of bravery, right, in your character. That's peel it back. It takes, I think, an incredible layer of bravery to be overtly going against the people who've supported you and built you up. Like it is what it is. Like, thankfully, I'm a small enough channel now where I can make a video about the prison system and not care if my audience is going to say, oh, is he changing his mind? No, I'm not changing my mind. I'm being honest. And I'm not about to be held to a standard and not be able to speak what I believe is true, right? So watching him do this, I appreciate. It doesn't mean he's good at it. Because Coach Greg Adams, if that were a debate, won that debate. It is what it is. Like I don't like a Coach Greg Adams, so it is what it is for me. But I do know that Hafiz in that debate lost because he could not give good reasons as to why marriage was a good thing. Like, if you believe in marriage and you're pushing marriage, and I'm here for marriage too, why can't you explain why it is that it would be beneficial for men to be married? Why is your argument so easily dismantled by Coach Greg Adams? I don't know. You should do that. You should do that work. I think before you talk about marriage again publicly, Hafiz, I know you're watching. If you're watching, I'm kidding. Please, please, please go figure out why it is that marriage is important. Think about it from a Jordan Peterson's perspective. Think about it from a cultural perspective about building a community. I can give you the answer right now. I won't, because you have homework to do regarding how marriage and monogamous relationship help a community and thus a society, and why certain communities thrive with monogamy and marriage in the way that the Western world has created it, and how other cultures failed. You can do it. You said you like to read. I don't have to do that research for you. You do it. So, all right, that's fine. That's your argument. Go figure it out. Go do it. You lost that debate, but because you lost that debate doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you didn't have the information you needed at the time. It's not difficult to be covert, disingenuous, and dishonest. Yeah, true. But who else would step up for the pro-marriage side of a debate? I think Hafiz should step up for the pro-marriage side of the debate. I just think he should also be prepared. Like, I am not impressed by someone who is willing to do something. I am impressed by someone who is willing to do something and take the time to know how to do it well. Even if you lost, it's fine. But the fact that I did not hear one reason from Hafiz why marriage is beneficial as an objective reality, that's fine. When you're talking about God is in marriage, right? The point at which you're talking about God is in marriage. I am a Christian. I know people like to joke about me, like, you're a fruitcake. How can you don't come in my life? I am a Christian. I am a good Christian boy. When I hear Hafiz say God is in marriage, I live for it. I am here for it. Yes, God is in marriage. That is not a winning argument to people who don't even believe in God. If you are going to say marriage is useful to help in a culture, you are going to have to explain how, and it has to be beyond your own religious belief. Your religious belief is not everyone else's. So is it that marriage is good for a Christian and not good for anyone else? If that is the truth, there's no reason to be debating these men who are not Christian. Your point is moot. You need to explain to these people why marriage is important on a secular level. You don't get to say, oh God, you don't. I'm sorry, you don't. And I like hearing it, but you don't win in that, because they're going to clown you, say that marriage, like God is not in marriage, and they're going to talk about a contract between a state, and they're going to talk about divorce. They're going to talk about all that stuff. You now need to anticipate the fact that divorce rates are high. Assets get divided when you own assets, and you are going to have to contest. The talking points for people who are opposed to marriage are very obvious. You need to know them, and you need to debate them. Like, it was annoying. It was annoying. Who do you think would be better prepared than Hafiz? He's prone to make straw man or anecdotal argument. I don't know. I don't watch these men. I don't think any of them is worthy of debating generally. Um, but I thought more of Hafiz. I thought Hafiz would have been more prepared. Hafiz is a shapeshifter who only stands for something in a very shallow and superficial way. Don't be fooled by him, Themis. So that's ultimate. That was my first understanding. The thing is, maybe I am blind now because I cannot see what Hafiz gains by changing his message this way. I can see what he loses, but I don't know what he gains. And so I think he's actually stepping into, like, he just got married, for one, right? He just got married. He, I think, is in the newlywed phase. He is now brushing shoulders with Jordan Peterson and other men who like marriage, right? And he said, I'm going to play the interview. Let's get into this interview quickly. In the interview, he said something to the effect of, I realized how my message going out in the world was wrong, right? And I think for me, that was the first time I've ever heard Hafiz take accountability for for what he has been doing online. That has been one of my main problem about him distancing himself from the manosphere, is that he never took accountability and he outright denied that he was a part of it. And for the first time during this interview, I heard him say, actually, before we get into Hafiz's interview, Fruitcake Gang don't give participation trophy, period. You're gonna get dragged. Would you ever debate one of the red pill alphas? Look, anyone can come on this. Anyone can come on there. When I drop the link, anyone can come on here. I take everyone on here. Absolutely, I would. The prior video explained why Hafiz lost. More school for manosphere. He will gain more women subscribers, and that's when the big bucks come in. No, because I think when you position yourself as a Kevin Samuels, it's more lucrative. I think that. I don't think, particularly BW, well, I guess he would never be BWE. When I think about Hafiz, holding men accountable is going to be bad for business, particularly when he's selling to men, right? So maybe I'm holding on to hope that he's actually trying to help men. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, when y'all come up, you guys can drag me about this, but this is the position I'm taking. I'm willing to change, but this is my position. There's a part of me too that has been waiting, that has been waiting to try to hold on to some kind of hope that Hafiz will do better and do good. I don't know. I say that I don't have hope, but I do. Not try Themis. I have 2 words for you. Period. Period. All right. Before we get into the video, we need to hear what's his name? O'Shea Duke Jackson react to the video. O'Shea Duke Jackson says something that I find extremely annoying. He's going to start giving marriage advice. Oh. No. So I hope not. I hope not. Please let that hope go. I know. Wait. Wait. Y'all think Hafiz is about to start giving marriage? All right, period. Wait. Oh my God, I can't with y'all. I don't know how you're gonna give marriage advice when you said you didn't have a prenup. I will never come drag you. I'm submissive with access to the EEC card. No, y'all can drag.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again.
I was saying I like Ruslan. Wait, what did Ruslan do? I predict 2K seminars. I hope not. I'm gonna watch out for that. And then I'm gonna come back and apologize to y'all. Then start selling the standard baby clothes, period. And what about it? If Hafiz starts giving marriage advice in the way that Derek Jackson, I think, did, not like marriage advice, but like Derek Jackson, I'm gonna come back and I'm not gonna say I'm gonna eat crow, but I would. Yeah, why did y'all put that in my brain? Now all of this feels, it's jaded now. It's jaded. Anyway, let's get into this.
With another episode of the Celebrity Junk. Dima, I'm on piano music. So guys, Hafeez has been on a tour of sorts, going to different podcasts to spew out his ideas. First of all, we saw him on the Valuetainment Money podcast with a few other people in which he hogged the mic, saying absolutely nothing, in my honest opinion. But his interactions with Coach Greg Adams, it was interesting. It was priceless. And in that particular ordeal, I did a reaction to that. Coach Greg Adams didn't say a lot, and Hafiz said so much more. Still got cooked. Okay. And that's what Hafiz does. He's kind of like a boxer who throws a lot of punches and doesn't land any. And he just gets hits with clear body shots and, shots to the face, and he gets knocked out. And that also happened with the Just Pearly Things. Now she's a burgeoning content creator here.
Okay. This is the lady he was talking to. This is now a manosphere content creator, and there is an emergence of women in the manosphere space. I've known this. I don't talk about the women in the manosphere space ever, really. I talked about one because I went on to see if she was being genuine, and I found out she wasn't. And when I did that with you, I said, hey guys, I don't talk about these women in these spaces because for me, look, get your money. Get your money, honey. Look, I don't know why y'all are over here thinking I'm about to talk poorly about women in the manosphere space. I'm not going to do that. These women did nothing to me. These women out in the manosphere spaces did nothing to me. As they get their makeup together, they look beautiful on camera, and they tell these men that they would never date. Hey, women should submit to you. Women shouldn't get educated, even though they're educated and they're making money, right? They should submit to you and all that stuff. And you all donate, give them money. Like, I have a period. Period. There is nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with these women over there telling these men what they want to hear. Absolutely not. And if there is something wrong with it, I don't see it. I don't care about it. And I'm not about to talk about these women in any negative light, except this one time. This is one exception. And I'm not talking poorly about her at all. I'm going to talk about an argument she made. That is it. That is all. So while y'all are out here saying, oh, these women are scamming these men, these women are grifter, why do you care? For me, like, why do you care? If these men want to give these women money to say women shouldn't vote, a woman is up there saying women should not vote. If you're a woman and you don't want to vote, you don't have to vote. So for you to say there should be a structural system in place that prevents women from voting, I don't believe you. But if these men believe them, period. Like, I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem with these women over there in the manosphere space saying it, because these men are supposed to be logical and reasonable, and they are supposed to be able to find out what is right from what is wrong, and women are illogical and blah, blah, blah. So if these illogical women are over there scared, this woman said women should not be able to vote. And I saw a bunch of men in the comments donating, super chatting, like saying, period, period, period. I'm like, she said women shouldn't vote. You think she believes that women, she actually said she would have run for office. And she was talking about being politically activated in the same interview that she says women shouldn't vote. It's not making sense. It's not making. Let me stop. I'm going to stop, because at this point, y'all just want to be used, and that's fine. And then y'all get mad at the wrong group of women who are not here attacking you, or who are not doing anything to you, because you got used and finessed. No, I guess that's the problem with them being there, but whatever. Like, you guys are there on OnlyFans, and then you're complaining about women being able to make money off of men by being beautiful. You're the ones paying her. No. Mm-mm. She said she want to run for office, but women shouldn't vote. It's not me. Yeah. We're going to watch the whole video too. So let's get through. We're not even getting through what O'Shea Duke Jackson have to say? He says one very specific thing, and I want to call out hypocrisy. And you can drag me for this. It is what it is, but I'm going to call it out.
In the Red Pill space, has a wonderful podcast. Shout outs to her. And quite interestingly enough, Obsidian pointed out the fact that she's only 25 years old. Hafeez is 32. And not only did she demolish him in their debates and things that they had on the podcast, and I won't go into that because it's not so much important today. I just want you to see how rude he is towards her. Right now, I'll play a few clips and how he has a hard time understanding ideas and understanding other people's ideologies and comprehending and responding. We'll play that.
When you're able to do stuff like that.
So, I don't know if you heard, but one of O'Shea Duke Jackson's concern was how, quote unquote, rude. Step back. O'Shea Duke Jackson is pointing out how rude Hafiz was to the... Actually, let's play the clip of what O'Shea Duke Jackson thought was Hafiz being rude. Let's play this clip of what O'Shea Duke Jackson thought Hafiz was being rude. Because O'Shea Duke Jackson was very close to Kevin Samuels. And if you are able to sit here and say Hafiz was rude to this woman, you should be able to call out Kevin Samuels too. There is a distinction being made with the kind of woman that he's being rude to versus the kind of woman that Kevin Samuels, Fresh and Fit, all of them were rude to. Why are you pointing out that he was rude to this woman? Let's play this.
You're not familiar with my content. I don't really give advice, but okay.
I know, but
go ahead.
You said wife school.
Yeah, but it's not taught by me.
Huh?
It's not taught by me.
Who's gonna build the wife school?
No, I'll put this is. See if you let me give the elevator.
Go ahead,
before
please,
you critique the idea.
Please.
So that's what I was thinking. I was like, I think you can do both, and maybe you feel like it can only be one.
No.
Maybe can you let me? You keep cutting me off. It's my channel.
It's actually my channel today. It's my channel today.
It's not like, and it's like I think you can be entertaining and helpful at the same time. I just think.
So guys, here's the issue with Hafeez. There's two things. The second is going to be a little bit more.
That was quote unquote Hafiz being rude. Are women making money like karma honors? My villain era can start now. Period. Make it look. I am not. These men will pay to hear whatever they want to hear, and that's fine. But I have a catalog of I don't have a catalog. I think I shouldn't say this. I'm just gonna show it. Thank you, Curry Up and Eat, because this man, I thought Hafiz was being a bit abrasive in that interview. I think he was condescending, and I didn't like it, not because of relation to her, but because it's not a good look when you're that out of your center, right? When your energy is just all over the place, right? That's why I didn't like it. But for what's his name, O'Shea Duke Jackson, to be pointing out, oh, how mean this person was. Have you seen any of Kevin Samuels' video? Let's do it. Let's look at Kevin Samuels, for example.
But if you have made it to 35 years old and you're unmarried, you are a leftover woman. A leftover woman. You are what is left. Men know that there's something likely wrong with you. Whether you want to hear it or not, I'm going to just go there with you. I'm telling you the truth that you don't want to hear. Men know that there's something likely wrong with you, but you cannot.
But you're, ma'am, you please don't make me say it.
Say what? I really just wanted some advice. I love your.
I'm giving you advice, but you're not taking it. The advice is, ma'am, you're average looking at best.
I'm taking it in, but
Okay, but you're not accepting the fact that, okay, average look.
I'm gonna focus on the top percent of guys, have my fun, but then later on, I still want that top percent of guy, and I want to settle down. But it's too late, sweetheart.
Well, that used to work for them. That used to work, but then social media canceled that out because what they did was they extended that window out longer. Before it was like at 26, they'd be like, all right, you know, I got to get on with this. But now they're like 32, 35, 38, 40, and they're like, all right, time to settle down. Where are all the good men? Well, too late, baby. And the other thing that changed is this. You mentioned the other thing, but here's the thing that changed.
I'm gonna focus on the top percent of guys, have my fun, but then later on, I still want that top percent of guy, and I want to settle down. But it's too late, sweetheart.
Well, that used to work for them. That used to work, but then social media canceled that out because what they did was they extended that window out longer. Before it was like at 26, they'd be like, all right, you know.
I mean, even O'Shea Duke Jackson, I don't know if you guys can hear the audio. Hopefully you guys heard the audio. Even O'Shea Duke Jackson had something to say about women.
Actors, okay? Like, she is almost at the Chitlin circuit. Like, Mama, where's Daddy? Mama, where's Gary? Mama, I found the Lord. You know, somewhere in Mississippi, Alabama on that Chitlin circuit tour, you know, during church plays and shit like that. That's where she's almost at, okay? She's 53.
I'm not even gonna play all of it. Like at this point, y'all, I've done enough. I've played enough for y'all to know that the whole point of certain people in the manosphere is to literally crap all over women. Like that's literally what happens there. And O'Shea Duke Jackson was friends with a lot of them, and he's never called them out for being mean or aggressive or anything towards women. So when you are saying that he was rude towards women, that seems odd to me. Right? That seems odd to me. All right. Did O'Shea Duke Jackson make it yet? Because he's riding the manosphere hard. Look, O'Shea no tea. Men know something wrong with women, but could not detect his health issue. No. All right. I don't speak ill of the dead. I'm not about to do that. I'm only bringing this up to point out the fact that O'Shea Duke Jackson saying that Hafeez was somehow being rude to this woman, where it's like, what do you mean? That's not a talking point. That is not a talking point at all, right? But let's get into in real life clip of Thomas Sotomayor screaming at women. All right, let me play this one. One more.
And this one is flat. So the guy's telling me, no, you're not gonna talk to me. Hey, let me tell y'all, see, that's the problem with black women right there. They talk. I ain't bothered this woman. I haven't bothered you. I haven't said a word to you. Have I said anything to you? I'm talking to my phone. Bye, bitch. Bye. Bye, bitch. This is why nobody likes these black whores.
I'm not going to play the rest of that. But for you to portray O'Shea Duke Jackson to sit up there and talking about, being aggressive or mean towards women is a thing, absolutely no, it's not a thing. It's not a thing that you push against. It's not. But let's get into this conversation, because what I believe happened was Hafeez left a bad taste in these men's mouth when he engaged with Coach Greg Adams. I think that's what happened, right? And when he went on the pearly things, I don't know. When he went on her thing, I need to pull that up now because we're gonna go watch it. When he went on her show, her name, the channel name is Pearly Things. When he went on her show, because of the taste left after Coach Greg Adams, everyone was looking for something to hate Hafeez on, I believe, right? And so he kind of gave it to them without knowing, because he was so aggressive. He wasn't really thoughtful. I don't think he did a good job in the interview, but he definitely did better than she did if that were a debate. She was called out for using words she did not know the meaning of and using talking points from the manosphere, and she literally doesn't have a defense against it, right? She is a walking contradiction. But again, this is not. We have to have a conversation about Hafeez theme. Yeah, yeah. But this is not, but even here, it's not to defend Hafeez. I'm just saying, if we were saying this was a debate, Pearly Things was not the one who won that debate. I can objectively say that Coach Greg Adams won the debate with Hafeez, but Pearly Things did not even come close. So let's get into it. And I will tell you where Hafeez went wrong, I think, and where Pearly Things went really, really wrong. Oh, well, yeah.
What up, guys? Welcome to the Just Pearly Things YouTube channel. Today, I have a special guest on the channel. Welcome, Hafeez.
What up? This is going to be fun. I'm honestly, like I said, I definitely did land from a flight a couple hours ago, but I'm very, very excited. And like I told you, I don't like to talk before an episode.
Okay.
I feel like you ruined the best content. So I wasn't trying to be standoffish to you. I was just trying to say the good stuff when the cameras go on.
Got
First mistake. Why are you telling us that, sir? Literally, no one cares. And it sounds like you are being disrespectful when you say, "Oh, we can't talk until the cameras turn on." What? The cameras would never turn on for me. No, we're going to go over what we're going to talk about. Absolutely not. It's so condescending and annoying. I see why people don't like Hafeez. Wait. Wait. No, I feel terrible. I feel terrible. Yeah, someone said, that statement should tell you everything you need to know about Hafeez. Yeah. It's funny because when I'm opening up the show this now and I'm talking to you, I'm actually taking off all my blinders. No one can ever take off all their blinders, right? But you lift it up a little so that you can be as objective as you can. Hopefully, that's what I try to do. And when I first listened to it, that statement didn't hit as much as it just did. I just realized you walked into this woman's studio, you're about to go on this woman's podcast, and you literally just told us that you didn't talk to her because you prevented her from talking to you because you only wanted to talk when the cameras were on. The cameras would have never turned on. I promise you the cameras would have never turned on. Absolutely not. And I don't care about the best content or good content. I want to know what we're going to talk about. We're going to go over kind of an outline of where this conversation is going. Absolutely not. That is so disrespectful. Oh my God, I think this is going to turn into a drag. I'm going to stop. I think this is going to turn into a drag. You have Hafeez is a star. He said, not till show. What? Oh my God. But I don't think I was that off. Like, obviously, I think the substance that he provided, to the extent that he provided any kind of substance, was better than whatever she provided. But that opening was not it, Hafeez. You just turned everyone off. Let me make it big.
Got it. Guys, before we start, don't forget to like the video and ring that notification bell that we are going to be notified of my daily videos. Also, guys, we are introducing 4 membership tiers. So the first tier, you get to be a part of the live chat. Second tier, you get to be a part of the Discord and behind the scenes vlogs. Third tier, you get to connect with me on social media. And fourth tier, you get a one-on-one call with me once a month. So I've helped people grow on social media, so you guys should sign up for that. Like I did with you a couple years ago.
Yes, you did. So it's really interesting because I meet a lot of people and I have a lot of sessions, but I'm really excited about your journey and learning about it, because initially you asked me, did I watch your channel? I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't. I gotta give it 100, but I know of your channel, right?
Oh my god. Oh my god. How you gonna go on her channel and you don't know what she's period. Period. He is disrespectful. He is disrespectful. Mm-mm. Girl. So I know y'all are probably thinking Themis didn't want to defend Hafeez and he just set this up. I did. I honestly did. The first two statements out of Hafeez's mouth is condescending and arrogant. And even if you don't think she's anyone, if you are going on her podcast or whatever, you think she's good enough to be on her podcast. You could have watched at least 2 or 3 episodes and say, hey, I caught up with 2 or 3 episodes. No one asked you. Literally, no one asked her if she watched. She did not ask him if he watched. He just voluntarily told her, I don't watch your show. I am now here. Interview me. Hafeez said, I'm that girl. I'm here for Hafeez Miami Vice vibe always, period. Let me not nitpick.
And then you made a reference that a couple years ago, you signed up for a session with me. We talked about some of the things going on with your YouTube channel, your goals and your dreams. So it's interesting. I think it's like, what, 2-3 years later?
Yeah, I think it's like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
roughly.
2 years, about 2020, around that period of time. So I think it's really interesting to see where you've grown, what you believe, and then how does that flesh out into the world today?
Yeah, because at the time, you guys were one of the only like reasonably priced like consultations. So
Yeah,
I was like, oh, I got to sign up for that.
Back in those days.
So to start, could you tell them a little bit about your channel?
Cool. Yeah. So my name is Hafiz. I started a YouTube channel with four of my good friends called the Roommates back in 2016. And then eventually the Roommates has grown and evolved in many different seasons of life. But basically what we said the Roommates was it was a place where the everyday man can come to improve his life. So we interview some of the best and brightest individuals such as Jordan Peterson, Gary Vee, Patrick Bet Davis, Stefan Lavoisier, Jose Zuniga, Jonathan Haidt, and so on, came on the show. And the whole goal was to be able to have these great conversations for the purpose of building up men. As that continued, I would also do live streams, and I stopped doing live streams. And then eventually I would do occasional individual videos. So we did that for about 6-7 years. And now I'm transitioning to a lot more things I'm more excited about. And yeah, so that's the elevator pitch about me and what I do.
Like what you're more excited about?
Well, I'm more excited about the Standard, the organization that we created. And the Standard is an exclusive community of high-performing men committed to helping one another unlock their full potential physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, and through the concept of digital cities. So really excited about this new thing that me and my business partner are building. So my guy, Joseph Hines, and just how it's going to change the world, because I think level 1 is content, but I think level 2 is actual in-person transformation. And that's what we're excited about in this next season of life.
So my first question.
Go ahead.
Would you consider yourself red pill?
Never in a million years.
Never. Why?
Never in a million years.
Why?
I think to me, first and foremost, I think I don't subscribe to any man-made ideology.
Okay.
Because I think
What do you mean you don't subscribe to any man-made ideology? That don't make sense. That does not. The idea. Sorry, I should have listened to this a third time because this is not going to be good. What do you mean you don't subscribe to any man-made ideology? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Are you a citizen of the United States of America? Citizenship. So keep going, team. It's long. LOL. No, I know it's long, but I feel like I messed up.
A lot of these ideologies put you in a box. So I do subscribe to religion, and people can argue whether that's man-made or not. That's going to be a great conversation, great debate. You get a guy like Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson had a great debate about that. But in regards to man-made ideologies, I don't really subscribe to them as much. And I don't like to identify myself with something that somebody else has conjured up with their own personal opinion. And so I think in regards to the red pill is a very interesting space, a lot of interesting characters there. And I think the biggest challenge to me is the phrase that they use is that all we're doing is trying to share the truth about fill in the blank, right? And to me, it's very, very arrogant as a human being to say I myself am the orator of the truth.
He is so arrogant. Oh no, he comes off as extraordinarily arrogant. To be able to maintain this, you have to actually know what you're talking about. The fact that you consider yourself black is a man-made ideology. The fact that you're wearing a suit and that you think men should wear suits, the fact that down to your citizenship, I think he's both, maybe he don't know what an ideology is.
I know the truth. My studies are the accurate studies. My ideas are the accurate ideas. I am the only individual who knows these things. And so to me, that ideology seems very cult-like, in my opinion. If you believe in them, they give you praise words like, oh, yo, you're red-pilled, you're an alpha male, right? And if you disagree with them, they give you the curse words, right? You are blue-pilled, you are beta male, right?
Are you talking about like the comments section?
I'm just talking about this idea of the philosophy, right? So the people who subscribe to the worldview are red-pill individuals, right? Their minds have been opened up to the truth, right? The people who disagree with their ideas are considered blue-pill, right? You have rejected the truth, i.e. the matrix, right? The guy in the matrix, he said, I want to go back in the machine, even though I know it, I want to go back in the machine. So to me, that seems very cult-like in regards to the ideology. And so there's a lot of different reasons why I don't subscribe to it. But those are the few things. I just cannot hold myself to an ideology that a certain individual or individuals are communicating without understanding the influence of those ideas.
Yeah, because they would say it's a praxeology, not an ideology.
You cannot sit there and say you don't subscribe to an ideology. Like, that doesn't make sense to, like, man-made ideologies, right? So let's just say he just meant he didn't subscribe, he did not. Themis, are you going to react to Chantel Simone? We need to talk live stream. I think you'd have a good breakdown. No, I won't. I went on Chantel's channel before and I talked to her. I have my own opinion of her, but that's my good Jamaican sis trying to make her money. Look, this is our good white sis trying to make her money. There's some Jamaican sis, there is some African, there's some religious wives, there's some good Muslim, Christian women. There are all kinds of women in the manosphere trying to get their money together. We're not about to go after these women. Absolutely not. Let them live in peace. I think they're doing what they need to do, period. No, I won't. I say, but I'm not gonna react to it.
Yeah, it's very easy to use words like that, but then you break down what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, you should have asked what that means, because an ideology is not excluded from a praxeology. I don't know what they're talking about. What do you mean? It's a praxeology, not an ideology. Well, I can't.
So my question to you is, like, what specifically do you disagree with?
Great question. So when people say things like, okay, we're not an ideology, we're a praxeology, right? You have to ask yourself, are you teaching any ideas? Like, is there any principles that your belief system is teaching? Because every human being's belief system teaches and ideas, right?
Girl, in the same sentence that you said you don't believe in any man-made ideology, you just pointed out that every belief system, every system has an idea. You ascribe to a lot of systems, so you ascribe to a lot of ideologies that are man-made. I cannot with you. I can't. No.
And so for me, when I see that there are certain ideas and premises that are being taught, therefore you cannot simply say we are not an ideology. There's no ideals that represent the things that we believe. And so an example of what are some of the things I disagree with, I think I primarily disagree with a lot of times the descriptions of marriage and just how they analyze and describe marriage in today's world. I think I disagree with the analysis of male-female nature. I think if you were to read a book like The Evolution of Desire by Dr. David Buss, he's a world-leading expert on human evolutionary psychology in regards to mating. And he's fantastic. Buss School of Psychology is amazing. And you actually read a person who's like a world-renowned expert on this topic. And you hear about all the nuance. And I love Dr. Buss because Dr. Buss understands the nuance and the cross-cultural studies and so much data. And you were to read some of the more red pill, doctrinal books, you'll be like, wow, like it's literally like reading Dr. Seuss and reading something like Hamlet. It's like night and day difference. And so to me, I think I acknowledge that a lot of their ideas are truthful, like any ideology, right? Or whatever the heck word they're using nowadays to convince people that's not ideology. Yes, those things there's truthfulness in it, but there's a whole lot of lies and a whole lot of information that is not statistically accurate. And that's why I've always recommended people to read books like Evolution of Desire by Dr. David Buss, and then simply read whatever red pill literature that you want and juxtapose those two ideas, and you'd be extremely astonished at the differences.
Well, it's just because everything you're saying is very broad. So you even said like their teachings on marriage, because like from my understanding of red pill is that they're not anti-marriage or pro-marriage, they're anti-marriage as it is today and the way the laws are today. And do you disagree with that?
So I'm gonna give you an example, and I'm excited because I'm really excited about the way you're processing this.
Yeah.
So let's go into marriage. So here's a fun.
Demas, he said man-made, meaning he wouldn't have an issue with woman-made. Period. We want us to lead so he can rest in his femininity in suits. He's a. Even the way he just answer the question, literally just answer the question, and we don't care how much you think that it was a great question. We don't just answer the question. Oh my God, this is annoying. Ah.
Fundamental challenge, okay? So red pill is very broad.
Okay.
Very broad, right?
Really? I don't think so, actually.
You don't think so?
No.
So do you think a person like Alpha Male Strategies teaches the same exact ideas as Coach Greg Adams?
I know more about Alpha Male Strategies than Coach Greg Adams. I haven't watched a lot of Coach Greg. AMS, he's like, the fuck these hoes to sleep.
Yeah, but he's evolved. That's old school AMS.
I don't know. If a guy tells me he watches AMS, I'm like, I gotta run.
but even to that point, right? So you're like, I gotta run.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of there's individuals like Steph Cole. I'm not sure if Steph Cole still calls himself red pill, but you have the Steph Cole guys.
Right.
A lot different than Coach Red Pill.
Okay.
A lot different.
Okay.
So what I'm articulating is that within the red pill umbrella, there's a diversity of individuals.
Yeah.
There's far right, there's guys who are a little bit more balanced. So what usually happens when we're having this conversation, which requires so much nuance, I'm glad we're able to dive into it, is that when you're describing the red pill, what people want to do is one of two things. You either want to steel man them or you want to straw man them. The argument that you're probably feeling like, and some people may feel like, is I straw man them, right? You pick the worst.
Through the nonsense of what he's saying, he just won in that back and forth. She said it's the red pill community is very straightforward, simple, blah, blah, blah. No, he said it's wide and there are variety of ideas in there. And hopefully she's conceding that. So people are saying, oh, he lost. It's hard to understand him. I understand him. Yeah, it's hard to understand me. But he give him the point through his arrogance here.
Ideas of the red pill, the worst content creators, and then you define the red pill as that. But then on the flip side is a steel man, where you find some of their best, brightest ideas, ignore all the negativity, nonsense ideas, and define that as a red pill.
No, I mean, to me, it's like there's a base set of ideas, and people have different ideas of what to do with it.
Who defines a base set of ideas?
I would say that I think that's mostly who defines the base. I would say Rollo Tomasi. I think he seems to be like leading that today, but before it seems like it was Patrice O'Neill possibly.
So you think Patrice O'Neill was?
No, I think a lot of it seems like a lot of ideas derived from him, but it seems like.
Annalise, I think I agree with this assessment.
It goes around Rollo Tomasi. That's what it seems like.
So the interesting part of the conversation, going back to the red pill conversation, because I know you want to talk about this, is that there is no single source. There's no doctrinal source. There's a lot of individuals who've written their books and shared their ideas as red pill. And depending on what school of thought you're in, a lot of individuals will say, well, that's not red pill for me. He's not red pill for me. Maybe in your world, he's red pill for you. And some people red pill for them might be Coach Greg Adams. People red pill for them might be Fresh and Fit. People red pill for them might be AMS. People red pill for them might be Coach Red Pill. People red pill for them might
be. But they all seem to say the same ideas.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
It's
like, so I'm just like, if we're going to say they're different, like what is different?
Okay. So in regards to each individual, I can't get into the nuance of each individual. So there are some individuals who are, when it comes to marriage, are explicitly marriage. I think the whole institution of marriage in the Western world is done. It's over. It doesn't work. It's a failed system. X, Y, and Z. Cool. So that's why red pill aligns to you, because those emotional sentiments rock with you. So then it's
not emotional. It's because of the legal, the way it is legally.
100%. So those legal sentiments rock with you, and we can get into how does those things flesh out. But then on the flip side, which you have other.
So again, disingenuous. We'll get to it, but remember, she's saying marriage is not good and men are at a disadvantage of marriage and they shouldn't get married. She is going to have a proposed marriage school later on. If you don't catch that contradiction, I don't know how to tell it. At one point, she's like, oh, marriage is not good. Men shouldn't like marriage. Men shouldn't want to be married. I'm with them on that, blah, blah, blah. And then she's going off and saying, oh, I'm going to create a marriage school to teach women how to be wives. But you, whatever. I brought us to defend Hafeez, and now he have to defend his. Now we have to defend his as you fall back from defending him. He is a textile hero in these YouTube streets. Period.
Individuals who say, well, in actuality, well, I do believe that in the sanctity and beauty of marriage. And if you're going to do marriage outside of the state, I'm all for it, right? So yeah, some people is like, even with or without the state, institutions broken, women are broken, society is broken, doesn't even matter. And some people are like, well, outside of the state, I support it, I agree with it.
It seems like their prescriptions are different, but their description is the same.
Yeah,
typically. So like they'll say these are the flaws in women, these are the flaws in marriage, but like they have different prescriptions. So some people will still go through with it with a prenup, and other people will say screw it all together.
And so prescribing a behavior is telling people what to do, and telling people what to do also creates a form of an ideology. So if I say I have 10 rules that I believe men should follow, and then say I have no ideology, that doesn't make any sense. So to me, an ideology isn't a bad thing. I have an ideology. You have an ideology. Every human has an ideology. So my biggest argument is not that the ideology is bad, but don't lie and say that you don't have an ideology when we all have an ideology.
again, you said you don't subscribe to man-made ideology, so I'm gonna be bringing that up. That don't make no sense. Stop making broad, sweeping statements and just say what you need to say. Where's Petty with the whiteboard to explain?
So in regards to your original question about the red pill, I believe a lot of what they say is half truths. And like I said, for example, if you really analyze human and male nature, female nature, there's a lot of really dark and disturbing things about female nature when you can get to the rawness of it, right? And if you're an individual and you're simply communicating those raw, dark truths about what is true, it could be very simple to realize that, wow, man, these are really, really bad things.
I'll give you an example. Felons have 30% more children than non-felons.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I don't. So you just threw out a number.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. You have nothing to back it up. So another example is, I'm sorry, we got to stop there. What happens in this community? What happens with the people who have the school of thought? They'll throw out numbers. Where did that stat come from?
Where did it come from?
Where did it come from?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's easy to Google.
I know.
Like if you Google it, it's like at the top of Google.
It's easy to Google, right? But the reality of the matter is, when people are sharing their statistics and numbers, a lot of times they don't know. They can't even tell you the primary source. So
right, because it's like off the top of your head, you're not going to know. Like
100%.
right then.
Why should I believe you? Why should I believe you?
Yeah, okay, but if I'm saying if I got you the stat, I could look it up now.
I know you can look. You can take your time. You can pause the episode. You can look it up. But my point is that a lot of times in this community, they'll throw statistics and data at you.
Y'all can't say he's wrong here. Y'all cannot say he's wrong here. This is not okay. Like, this idea that you can just throw something off the top of your head and that's okay is not okay. That's not how you do stats. So, like, yeah, he might be annoying, but at least here, like, I agree with him. You don't just get to say, oh, 30% of men are billionaires. Like, no. No, I'm going to ask you to cite your source also. Absolutely, I am.
You're not privy to statistics and data.
Yeah.
Some of it is true, some of it is false, right? I can go into some of the truths and false as well. And so because you're not able to simply look things up, you're in a conversation where you're like, okay, I'm gonna give this person the benefit of the doubt. But if the data is simply skewed by sheer numbers, it can totally dispel whether this person's communicating the truth or not.
Yeah, but it's easy to just like Google it.
I know, but what I'm saying is, listen carefully. If you and I are having a podcast conversation and you have 15 data points that justify your worldview, but you don't know the source, you don't know the primary, secondary source, we could stop this episode and every time you pull up numbers, we could look at it, you can look them up, you can pull them up, you can show it to me, but that's going to take too long. So usually in conversations like this, you're not able to do so. So therefore, what you're forced to do in these conversations is whenever someone gives you a statistic, the individual's called to believe it. And I've seen that happen myself because I'm a data person as well. You consume my content, so you know some of it. I'm a data person myself. So when I share data, there's times where I'm like, oh, well, that number was wrong. But because we're in the middle of a conversation, people simply believe me. And so to me, which
is fine, then you just update it.
I know, but in the midst of the conversation, when we're having these conversations and when we're sharing all these data, a lot of people will spew data and numbers that they don't even, it could be truly false.
I understand sometimes misinformation happens.
100%. And it's not perfect. I'm not saying you're trying to deceive me, but what I'm saying is that there has to be a level of accountability when we're saying this is the truth. So for one of the things that I've been improving on in regards to my speech is that if I share a number, if I really don't know the primary source or I'm not willing to pull it up immediately, right, I'll say, well, I think this is the number, or I'm not sure this is the number. But what happens is when you say 110%, this is true. The divorce rate in America is 50%. It is true. And then you share these explicit narratives. And then when you simply analyze them and break them down, you realize that's not the case.
Yeah, but then you switch it. But I don't think it's wrong to just say a number.
It's nothing wrong.
And then I look it up and it's right. Like I've looked that up before.
But that's not what I think you're getting lost. You're getting lost in the specific point. I'm talking about the meta point. The meta point is that when people are communicating statistics, the audience is totally dependent upon the orator. And if that person says, I am the bearer of the truth, a lot of times in the midst of a conversation, a lot of people communicate numbers that may or may not be true. So my biggest thing is that when a lot of these individuals are communicating numbers, I'm the kind of person where I'm like, hey, let's stop, let's analyze them, and let's see whether they're true or not.
Is there a common talking point that isn't true that you're?
She would also annoy me, by the way. If I were talking to someone like this, I would also be annoyed because she's not listening. There is no listening going. She's like, when you're listening to someone that you literally don't care about, and you're not even trying to be in the sure, definitely, of course. That's the vibe I get. And so it's a very passive-aggressive way to be sort of dismissive, but like Hafeez should not outright be aggressive. You can give that energy back, and I would, but I also would be. No, I would be upfront. I would say, hey, the way you are speaking while I'm speaking, those sound effects that you're making, I don't have a soundboard right now, so I don't appreciate them. I'm going to need you to stop. Because I would have called it out. I would have told you, hey, you're, Annalisa says she's patronized. Yeah, to be fair to her, though, it could be in reaction to the fact that he came in talking about, I told you not to talk to me because we are only going to talk when the cameras are on. I don't watch your platform. And the way he's speaking is very condescending. So points, I guess, to her for giving back a kind of energy in a not aggressive way. Like, this is not, like, you don't clock this. Right? You will not, if you don't engage, particularly in the corporate world, you would probably think she's just being a sweet, submissive person. She is not. She is aggressively patronizing him. She is. She definitely is. I promise you, she is. I mean, he's right here, and I'm with him here, but she is not being like sweet, like she's literally like, I would feel uncomfortable, and I would give it back. I would give it back. I would either give it back or call it out publicly. I would say, hey, what you're doing right now, and maybe he doesn't know how to call it out, so it just gets under his skin how it is supposed to get under his skin when it's done by her. But it's very clear to me. Need Duolingo or Rosetta Stone for Hafeez. No.
You're thinking of?
I think one of the biggest conversations that is not discussed is how marriage has changed from the 90s till today.
Okay, go on.
If you look up the divorce rates, divorce rates have been decreasing from the 1990s until today. There's a lot of different studies and a lot of different analyzations.
Go on.
A lot of different. So are you listening or are you trying to talk?
I'm listening.
I'm curious.
I'm listeing.
Because you kind of seem like you're just you're waiting for me to stop talking so you can say something.
No, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay.
She's not listening. He picked it up. He should have just told her to stop. Oh, I kind of feel bad for him now. Because now he looks really bad because a lot of people cannot clock what she's doing. So in regards to the divorce numbers, a lot of the divorce numbers that are communicated today, they're not also, those are a lot of previous numbers. And when you're factoring into the trends that are leading to the lowering of divorce rates, as well as all the different cross-cultural analysis of divorces, there's a lot that can be learned about divorces. So in regards to the Western world and a lot of the divorces having issues, they're 100% right. But we have to communicate, well, here's the reality. The divorce rate has been going down. And why has the divorce rate been going down? And the reason why the divorce rate is going down is because we've learned a lot of different things about marriage, about divorce, about why did the divorce rate skyrocket initially in 1970s to begin with. And so there's a lot of, when you hear a number, statistics are great under the broad scope of a conversation. But when you're really trying to dive deeper into what's going on in today's society, statistics tell you a story, right? So once you understand the story behind the number, then you can understand why the number is practical. So in my question is, so one of the biggest things that we've worked on is that if we're going to give a number, we want to also tell the story behind the number and how is that beneficial to improving the lives of people today. And so to me, that's one of my different points of view is that if you're simply holding on to any worldview and the worldview is communicating certain things that may or not be true or may not be painting the whole picture, is this for the purpose of benefiting society or is it for the purpose of perpetuating a narrative?
Wouldn't you say that the divorce rate's going down because people aren't getting married as much?
So think about it like this. Let's talk about divorce rate is by percentage. So let's do some numbers.
Y'all are not going to convince me this woman is smart. Y'all are not. That question doesn't make sense. The divorce rate as a percentage of the people getting married. That the divorce rate is the question doesn't make sense. The divorce rate is going down because less people are getting married. What? Like that, whatever.
Because you seem like a very analytical girl, logical girl. Let's talk about some numbers. So if the system of marriage is broken, right, and 1,000 people get married.
Oh, I see. The rate would still be. I see.
Okay. So let's do it for the people, right? Remember, the red pill argument is.
Y'all not gonna convince me Hafiz lost that debate. Y'all are not gonna convince me Hafiz lost that debate. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're not gonna convince me Hafiz lost that debate. Y'all are wrong. Y'all are wrong. Hafiz won that debate. I don't care how condescending he is. She's not.
is the system is broken. So that means anyone who engages in this institution, whether or not you do it, it's broken. It's not going to work. It's going to lead to a 50% divorce rate. So if 1,000 people get married, therefore it should be 50% divorce rate. But then if 900 people get divorced, and 10 years later, instead of the 1,000 10 years ago, now 900 people get married, and that divorce rate is 40, not 50 where it was before. The question that must be asked is, these 100 people, why did that number change? If the system was broken, then therefore, whether it's 1,000, 900, 800, 1,200, 1,100, it should be the same thing. But if the number went down, but then the divorce rate decreased by percentage, why did it go down? Who was not getting married? And how were they contributing to the increase of divorce rates in the past? And that's why I said the numbers will tell you a story. And if you don't know the full story, you don't know how the number is relevant to the lives of everyday people. And that's what I'm passionate about. Like I want to keep on saying it. A lot of the red pill arguments are true. A lot of them are true, mixed with a whole lot of lies. And we have to be honest, there is an ideological bent and there is a for-profit bent for the ideologies. But if we're simply going to stop there and not do a deep dive analyzing the study, if we don't sit down and analyze every single statistic number and juxtapose it with the leading experts in the world who are also studying these things, we don't have a full, complete message to share to men and women for the benefit of society. Because to me, if we're genuinely saying that the red pill message is the truth, if it is indeed the truth or attempt to convey the truth should only make society better.
Sorry, Eric, I know I am annoying. So even though he won, I want to retract that point. I want to retract that point because, girl, why do you keep going? Why do you keep going? We get it. Talk to people. Don't talk at people and don't talk down to people. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why are you doing this? I don't blame her for doing what she's doing now, actually. Like, so when I was watching it previously, I was cooking, I was working, I was cleaning, I was taking pictures to put on Instagram and deleting because they weren't good enough. Nothing is good enough for my Instagram. So I was doing a lot of things. Having to sit here as she had to sit there and listen to him, not just talk to her and be long-winded, but lecture and be condescending. I would be doing something too, probably. Actually, I take all of it back. I'd be like, yep, definitely. Yep, sure. Yep. I'm not going to sit there and have someone lecture me in this condescending tone. No, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. No. Hafeez needs to get someone to train him on how to communicate to people better. He does. Like, it's ridiculous. Hey, Island Girl. I saw you before up there. I don't know if I said hello. Hey, Island Girl, welcome. No. I would be checked out too. Someone said she's checked out. Yeah, I would be checked out too. I don't blame her. I'm retracting because I do still believe that Hafeez won the debate. But I understand now, having to sit here right now being absolutely annoyed with it, I do understand why people are saying he is lost, he's annoying, he's this, he's that. I get it. He still won on substance. I will give him that. It's just a lot. Like, even you got the point. Like, I never understood people who won and had to rub it in people's face, right? Like, you're arguing with someone, you see they're wrong, they see they're wrong, there's a concession, let it go. You don't have to keep belaboring the point.
It should only make men better. It should only make women better. It should only create a better world for us. And so to me, when I see an ideology, when I see a praxicology, whatever they're calling it nowadays, when I see a worldview and I'm looking at it, I'm analyzing it, and I'm understanding it, and I'm seeing all people who are leaders in it, and I'm seeing the inconsistencies in what they say and what they do, I'm saying that there's a deeper conversation with the numbers and there's a deeper conversation with this type of information that is not being discussed. I'm glad we're doing it right now.
To me, it's like if it goes from 50% to 40%, who cares?
Mm.
That's right.
Don't do that.
Let me,
Don't do that, though. Go ahead.
Because to me, people aren't getting together. They looked at the
Sorry. D Vanor, welcome to the membership. What I was saying, I was muted, I apologize. That was statistically significant. What do you mean, who cares? It jumps, what was it, 10 points? Did the percentage that she gave, did that percentage jump 10 points? let's hear it again. Because if it jumped 10 points and she goes, who care? I'm going to end the conversation. I'm definitely going to end the conversation. If you're saying there's no statistic, whatever, let's do it. Let me hear it for real. Because I was on the phone, so maybe I missed it.
And that's what I'm passionate about. Like I want to keep on saying it. A lot of the red pill arguments are true. A lot of them are true, mixed with a whole lot of lies. And we have to be honest. There is an ideological bent, and there is a for-profit bent for the ideologies. But if we're simply going to stop there and not do a deep dive analyzing the study, if we don't sit down and analyze every single statistic number and juxtapose it with the leading experts in the world who are also studying these things, we don't have a full, complete message to share to men and women for the benefit of society. Because to me, if we're genuinely saying that the red pill message is the truth, if it is indeed the truth or an attempt to convey the truth should only make society better. It should only make men better. It should only make women better. It should only create a better world for us. And so to me, when I see an ideology, when I see a praxicology, whatever you're calling it nowadays, when I see a worldview and I'm looking at it, I'm analyzing it, and I'm understanding it, and I'm seeing all people who are leaders in it, and I'm seeing the inconsistencies in what they say and what they do, I'm saying that there's a deeper conversation with the numbers and there's a deeper conversation with this type of information that is not being discussed. I'm glad we're doing it right now.
To me, it's like if it goes from 50% to 40%, who cares?
Mm.
That's right.
Let me.
The marriage rate, that's what they were talking about. She goes, if it goes from 50% to 40%, who cares? And y'all want me to believe she won this debate? Y'all want me to believe she won that debate? The marriage rate moving from 50% to 40%, you're saying who cares? Or the divorce rate, either one, who cares? That is statistically significant. I would actually be very concerned about why.
Because to me, people aren't getting together. They looked at getting married rate is lower than it's ever been. So it's like to me, it's just like men are getting a bad deal today, and they're.
The convo just made me realize how black men, white woman relationship go. Aggressive versus passive aggressive. Black men misinterpret the exchange with white women as, oh, period. Period. That's why they don't understand when things like what happened in Florida happens, because they're like, but you were so submissive. No, you just don't know how to read aggression or that kind of aggression, I think.
And they're signing a contract where women are paid to leave and take the kids. And to me, that's just, and especially in the UK, like I live in London, like girls, like your child support's literally dependent on how much you have a kid. So you're literally paid to take the kids away.
Okay.
So like to me, it's just like a bad deal. And even if you sign a contract and it's a 40% versus 50%, that's still not great.
You first and foremost, let's not be deceptive, right?
Okay.
You cannot.
I'm not being deceptive.
If you understand statistics, you cannot say a 10% decrease in the likelihood of something happening isn't a big deal. If there was a drug or if there was a disease, and we say, you know, the disease has a 50%. Let me finish. You told me not to cut you off. I'm not gonna cut you off. I understand what you're trying to do right now. I was under the impression of this would be a certain kind of conversation, but I'm getting what you're doing right now. So if you want to make the conversation the way you want to make this conversation, it's no problem. So like I was saying.
That's when he lost. Right there, right that moment is, if you're going to call someone out, and yes, calm down. If you're going to call someone out, call them out in a way that does not put you fully on the defensive, right? If she's being passive aggressive with you not listening, she's obviously doing that to not show her hand. And you now are like crying that, oh, I now see what you wanted. You got what you wanted. Yeah, you got played. You got played because the manosphere is against you. She's in the manosphere. You went on her channel, and now she's going to prove that she stands with the manosphere against you. Yes, what do you think this was going to be? Oh, let me guess. You've never watched her channel. That's on you. Yeah, he lost. He lost because he did not fully understand what he was getting. When you underestimate your opponent, and yes, I said opponent because this is ridiculous that he would go on someone's channel that he's never watched. He made the claim that he's never watched her channel. So you just went on there. Oh, this is a woman, so I'm just going to go run amok. That's what you thought, right? That's what you thought. So you didn't do any research about the person you were talking to. And it was 22 minutes into the conversation that you realized this was a manosphere person you were talking to, really? So she's going to use you to build her brand. Period. Good for her. I am here. I am here. You better get your money. I once heard using all of your SAT words at one time in a conversation make you sound less intelligent. White women have been playing black men for millennia. Now, nothing new here. Period. I feel like I should stop now. Honestly, I don't. This is not why I came on. But as I'm watching it, I'm realizing you you gave yourself up on a platter. There is no one. She does not have to do anything at this point, right? The men who want her to say what they want her to say are paying her to say what they want her to say. She does not have to have any intellectual capacity. She doesn't have to know what a rate means. She doesn't have to know how a 10% increase or decrease in divorce rate is statistically significant. She does not have to know what an ideology is. She doesn't have to know any of that. Because you're on her platform, you didn't do any research, and you're just arguing with yourself. You're not even letting her speak. You're not even asking her questions so that you can get ideas about who she is. Like, make your money, sis. I don't like calling people sis, but whatever. I'm so annoyed. I'm continuously disappointed with Hafeez. And I don't like that because I was talking to someone and I was arguing with them. I was like, Hafeez won. I don't know what you're talking about. Hafeez won. Hafeez won. And I was talking back and forth. I still agree with myself that Hafeez won. Like, I still agree. Like, if we're taking this apart and looking at the substance of what was said, I think Hafeez won. No one is about to do that. And I don't think anyone should have to do that. I don't actually think anyone should have to do that. I think people can dismiss Hafeez because he does not have any control. You go on the woman's podcast. You didn't do any research. You sat there. You became condescending. You were the first one to be condescending. And she did her passive aggressive thing, and now you're mad. Now you're mad. I don't like it. I don't want to. I'm gonna end this now. I'm not going back to it. The reason I'm gonna end it is simple. And I apologize. What is happening now is not what I'm fine with not what I expected, but having watched it and not paid full attention to it, I just knew that substantively I agree with Hafeez, right? At least in the way that he's pushing back against the manosphere red pill. However, the way he is approaching this conversation is ridiculous. You are annoying if you go on someone's platform and you don't know what that person does, what they believe. And this is not like a live stream that pops up. That's fine. Like, you can go into a live stream and be like, oh, I don't know what this is. I'm just here. You get called up, go up there, whatever. I'm not talking about that. You took a flight, booked an appointment with her to be on her thing. You've met her before because you've mentored her, and now you're on her platform and you don't even know what she represents. You don't know what she's talking about. Halfway in the conversation is when you figured out that this was a ploy to use you, who the manosphere is mad at, right? The manosphere is mad at you. She's in the manosphere. You don't know she's in the manosphere. You go on her podcast. She's now using you to build her platform, and you didn't know that before you go on? You didn't know that before you go on? When I say he mentored her, apparently she paid for a session with him about how to grow her channel 2 years ago. So because she did that, I'm thinking he thought he's going to go in and school her, which he did, admittedly. But it's done in a way that only benefits her. And you continue to be used like this. Like, come on, man. At some point, just stop. At some point, just stop, reflect, and don't do it. Because I do agree with you mostly in this interview, Hafeez. Let me say that up front. I do. Outside of you being condescending and arrogant and dismissive, I do. But the fact that you don't do your homework, the fact that you just went up there and did what you needed to do, it is what it is. You lost, and it's not because you lost substantively. If you lost, you didn't know how to play the game and you got played. She played you, used you, and that's fine. She won. Coach Greg Adams won. You won the debate, but that's unimportant. That is unimportant. That you won the debate is unimportant. I don't know why you would have engaged in that conversation with her. I'm not gonna watch anymore. There is like almost 2 hours of video left. I'm not, because to do it would be fun, one, but I'm not here to have fun. I actually was here to defend him on specific points that he made and explain why they are right, but also talk about the fact that he's using points that we aimed at him and point out that he actually, somewhere in this, took ownership of what he said in the past. And I did appreciate that. In this video, he took accountability for how he added to the toxic climate. And that alone gave me hope. I'm holding on to that hope, but I'm very disappointed in all of this. So that's that on that. I'm going to go into the after show, open the panel. You guys can come up. You don't have to drag me. I dragged myself. It's fine. I gave myself whatever award I need to give it for being annoying, annoyingly hopeful. All right. So I'm going to put this in and then we can get into hopefully a less than 20-minute discussion. I'm not going to play anymore though. So if you come up and say, can you play the rest? It's not going to happen. I'm done. I'm tired of it. Hello. Oh, I just tried to click someone that left. All right. Well, seeing that there is no one behind the screen, we are going to postpone the financial literacy workshop thing. We're going to postpone that hopefully till next week, but I have to confirm with Money. So look out for that sign-up sheet coming this week. And we'll announce when the debate is going to be. We are going to update that. We're going to do the debate updates hopefully next week. Hey.
Hey, T-Mass, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll keep it short. I was going to say that Hafeez won the argument, but what I saw that where he kind of, lost, where was he revealed the energy. My main problem was that she was being passive aggressive. She's like, okay. But, I got with I've been there before with people being passive aggressive and people giving one word answers, etc. I know how it feels. But what I do, I don't just like, okay, so what you're not going to do, stuff like what Hafeez was doing, that's where he lost because, he came off aggressive. When she was being passive aggressive, I thought that's when he was losing. Even if the argument, like he won the debate, he won the battle, but lost the war. Usually when someone's being passive aggressive with me and they talk, I be passive aggressive back to them. And when they're coming off, I'm like, now you see how I felt when you were doing this and this and that. That's where he was wrong. He should have given her the same energy.
You said now I would never do that. If you're passive aggressive to me, I'm doing it back to you and you call me out, I'm gonna be very confused. I'm gonna develop amnesia immediately. I don't like passive aggression. If you do it to me, I either call you out or give it back. And if you call me out for it, I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry.
Okay. That's actually a good idea, but I'm gonna do that actually. But back then when a girl or guy was being passive aggressive, I do it, and then they're like, "Why are you acting like that?" And I'm like, "I'm just giving you the same energy that you gave to me." But that's how I'm going to use your way.
Yeah. Why are you laughing like that? Laughing like what? What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna start being like you then, Themis, you know. But like I said, Hafiz won the debate. It's just that the problem, many people are like, well, the white woman strike again. But you know, the problem is he should have played her how she was playing. You know, she kept her card and she made him reveal all his card, and now he looked like the bad guy, right? And
Yeah,
they're
I
all
mean,
going
she really
against
didn't
him.
keep her card. You could have just watched her video, but that was a lot to
Yeah.
do because you thought, I am man, I'm gonna go show this woman what it is and explain to her. That's what you did instead of like actually look at what you were going to do. You were ill prepared and it showed.
And
But
what I know
yeah,
is also, let me just wrap this up. Like maybe he thought even if he like mentored her and how to grow her channel, maybe he thought that how he would usually talk to a person that's not like a woman that's not in a red pill, manosphere, etc. That's how he would talk to her. And then he got like a wake up call. That's like that's not how she is, right? She took a step in a page and stuff out of their book and used it against them. And you know, that's where I said that, you know, she won the war. She practiced and she literally I just saw this comment, but she practiced and she literally got them in their game. That's
yep.
how it is. And, you know, yeah, but, you know, he won the debate, but he lost the war because
Yeah.
he got played by his own tricks.
Yeah.
But thank you, Themis, and I love
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love you too. Themis ain't noticed that the profile photo. I noticed it, but I was purposely trying to ignore it. She stayed on her square and knocked him off his. Yep, that's exactly what happened. Hey, Annalicia.
Hello, Themis. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfectly. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. I was very annoyed, but now I'm better.
So the thing about it is I love you. There's very little that you can do to change that. And I think that there's a goodness in you and you see for whatever reason, it's just the good in you. I'm a little bit more jaded. But I think you see in Hafiz something is redemption somewhere. There's something in him I think that you believe is redeeming if he can just cultivate it. But here's the thing about Hafiz. The way that he communicates, and I know because I get dragged on YouTube because of the way that I speak, the way I converse, and the way that I engage in dialogue or debates. I don't have any chill. Like there's no pause. I either go or I'm not there at all. But I think that the and this is what I'm saying, he's a shapeshifter and they're not very good at having an identity, a true identity that's theirs. I think the way that he thinks, commanding, and really good speakers. I think the way he thinks that they converse is to be demonstrative, is to be loud, is to gesticulate with hands. I think he thinks he's doing a good job in that way because he doesn't know what it actually is. He doesn't have it. It's fraudulent. He does not have it. And I think that is, for me at least, that's who he is. That's his personality construct. That is who he is. That's where the aggression comes from. That's where the anxiety comes. You can see that. It's so, to me, it's so obvious when you see him getting frustrated and upset. Like this isn't you.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know who you are, but he's not authentic. And the fact that he said, I basically ghosted you, I stonewalled you because I said wait for the cameras to turn on. That, like, listen to people when they talk. That tells you everything. This isn't YouTube. That is him. That is who he is. And to me, that tells you everything that you need to know about a human being, about a person's personality, about what they prioritize and what's important. Because I can have a conversation with a random stranger, and I do it all the time. I frequently have conversations with random strangers, and it's not online. It's not for the cameras. It's to learn. It's to grow. It's to connect and maybe develop a relationship. You understand? The fact that he said, no, lights, camera, action, then you get my time. That's who he is, and he's just another suit. That's it. But I still love you. You're the smartest man in the world. I still love you.
Yeah, I think. I mean, So watching it now, sitting down and looking at it, I agree that I'm wrong in, well, I wasn't wrong. Like in my mind, he was right and he substantively was, but I missed all that other stuff and maybe I got tricked. I needed to vet better, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I do think he's a shapeshifter, but for me, when he said I contributed to the toxic environment in the red pill, I don't know, that felt like a confession that is like I don't want to like dismiss because like I want people to be able to admit and own up to what they did. But then hearing him, it doesn't seem like he changed or like improved or learned anything new. I think he's just like talking to talk still,
But
and talking to sound like the people who he thinks are intelligent.
yeah, I heard a lot. I heard he was in his Jordan Peterson bag. Like his rhetoric changes, his energy changes, his like he's forever changing. He's like a bacteria. Like it's crazy. But I think that what was interesting for me when I was watching it is actually I don't want to. I'm not gonna take over. There's a gentleman. I'll say it. I'll say it after.
Wait, yeah, Alexander.
Oh, yeah, hi, Themis. It's been a long time. Uh, I also think that Hafeez won the debate, but the way he went about it was a little too aggressive in some sorts. But I think when he was actually telling, the truth, and I'm glad that he's changing his ways. And I think there might be more that will change their ways, but but I'm not giving my hope. I'm not keeping my high hopes up because black men are so down in the red pill right now that if they say anything wrong, then they will become the enemy of the red pill and the black manosphere.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now I remember what I was going to say. But Alex, I think that and hi Alex, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. It's been a long time. But what I was going to say to Themis is we can be cautiously optimistic, right? Because change is it's a process, obviously. But the thing for me is we have to pay attention to sort of the reason or the incentive, right? Like, is he changing because he's had some introspection in his life, or is he changing under the guise of trying to figure out what his niche is and where he can make money and still be palatable to a larger, broader audience. And so for me, it's like, okay, yeah, change is good. No matter what direction you go in, whatever, change. But why is he changing, right? Like that, because that matters. Principle matters, right? Like our morals and values, these things, all of these things tie into how we change as people. So when it comes to him changing, I'm not telling him how, like, I'm not saying, hey, speed it up. I would be more curious as to know why, right? Is it more lucrative, or is this personal development? Is this introspection? I think it's the former. That's me. But I mean, whatever makes his boat float, right? He's going to get money no matter what.
Yeah, so I would have, I mean, I kind of agree now, but the reason I've noticed the change, but the change tend to have happened without him owning any of the past behavior and saying, I'm never part of the manosphere. But in this, somewhere, he owns that. And that for me is new. And people who are at least arrogant in this way, and I don't want to use the sort of psychological term because I don't want to do it, but you know what I'm going for. Don't generally admit that they are wrong or they have been wrong. They just kind of press on and pretend like that didn't exist. And so his acknowledgement of his past and his ownership of that gave me hope. Um, it's not even hope. I don't really care about hope, but like that he was like right for the first time and that I thought he did well. I wanted to talk about it because so often I come on here and I just like dismantle everything that he says. I wanted to be able to be like, yeah, well, guys, at least he did a good thing now. But no, it's clouded with annoying messaging, condescension, just like really bad objects, and also being used to promote someone else's channel.
Yeah, see that and I understand you're saying, you know, to Becky, get your coin, da da da. But that was that's a problem for me. Like I think like as we get older and you know we focus on what we're going to put our energy into, be strategic, be mindful and be intentional. You had no strategy. Your strategy was to come on there to be self-aggrandizing. You walked in and you said, I don't watch you, but you watch me. So yeah, he got the smoke, but I'm not in his defense.
Oh, wait. I have to correct you on this. Oh, I care. I care. This is a guys. When I say get your money, sis, or whatever, I am playfully ignoring the fact that I am pissed. like, I just want to put that out there, but go ahead. You're right.
Okay, well, that's good then. Actually, then, what I really think about her, you and I we're so similar, Themis, because I can't handle passive aggressive. I can't deal with it. Like my mind, like I go to like a psychological collapse. I cannot deal with it. And I think for her personality construct and structure is very parallel to his. But she was smarter. She had a strategy. She knew, she was intentional with what she wanted to pull out of him and what she wanted her viewers to be able to watch. So, I mean, white women have been like, I don't want to make this about white women and black men, but they've been doing this forever. Like, I think that they invented passive aggressive behavior. Honestly, I really do believe that they have, like, all that repressed anger from being housewives. I think that they just invented a passive aggressive communication and behavior. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. He got played. He in turn played himself because, like, why there's so much emotion? It's like, but women are emotional. The contrast. She was sitting cool and collected, and you are just like having a full-on a tantrum. You're getting loud. You're screaming. You're calling her out. You're telling her to stop talking. Like you played the ass. Like you played yourself. It was like it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for him.
I promise. If I went on someone else's platform and this happened to me, everyone unsubscribe. Please do, because that means I don't have control of myself. Like, I can get riled up on here because I feel comfortable and all of that. I'm not about to go on someone else's platform and do what he did. I will rather walk out. I would literally get up and leave. I'd in the middle, not say anything, just leave. Like, I'm not about to do that.
Yeah, I can't, like, the passive aggressive, like, oh God, I would have left. I would have said, you know what, this maybe, you know, this wasn't a good idea. I don't think we're gonna have a meeting of the minds. And the irony is, it's exactly what you said. Had he just had some open dialogue with her prior to this interview, he would have known, or he would have got a sense of what it was that she was trying to do. But again, this is the arrogance. This is the hubris that he has. And this is what happens when you think that you're too smart. You get out, like you get played. You played yourself. He's not that smart. He tries to emulate better and smarter men, and the execution it's terrible. Like, it's so bad. He needs help.
How much ammunition you would have gained had you had that 5-minute conversation beforehand?
And how much insight? Like, what harm could it have caused? It's the ego, like the hubris. Who are you, Hafiz? Like, who are you? Because now her viewers know who you are, and they said that you're a sucker, like you're whack. So that's what I'm saying. Like, humble yourself. There's a time and a place. You have to, and this is what I'm saying. This goes back to not knowing or having that identity, being the shapeshifter. When Themis, you're someone who's confident. We all have insecurities. I have them too. But at our baseline and who we are in our spirit and our soul, we have a confidence because we know what our capacity is. We know who we are. We know what we stand for. That's not him. That's not Hafeez. And and that's a problem. That's a problem. Because when you're like that, everything riles you up. Everything is a trigger, right? Everything is a problem. So
like, I think even if I'm insulted a couple times, but like in a passive aggressive way, like I can sit there and make a judgment of what to do about it without reacting emotionally, right? If he felt like there was an affront to him and his dignity in the way she was talking, and you can internalize that and do something with it outside of getting angry, like, oh, I see where this is going now. All right, we're gonna play that game. Like, calm down, sir. Like, you're mad. We all read that you're mad. She's mad. No one reads it. Like, most people don't read that she's being passive aggressive. The fact that your emotions are all over like that, you have literally no control. You should not be teaching anyone. You should be learning. Like, you should be learning how to control yourself. That's my opinion now.
Yeah, he really needs to watch. He should watch you. And I think that, and I know that I don't know how you feel on the matter, but if there was a way to get him on your panel or like in your vicinity to have a conversation with you, I honestly think that you might help him. And even in even on his end, it would be exploitative. I'm saying on your end, it would be authentic because again, I think that you see something in him that may be able to be cultivated. But I think everybody in the chat, myself included, if there's a way to just, I don't know, like flood his DMs, like he needs to have a conversation with you. If he wants to know what it means, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like to converse in a way that's commanding and assertive and intellectual, he needs to have a conversation with you. Like that's how it works. You have to have conversation with intelligent people so that you can learn how to have an intelligent conversation, right? Like he's having low vibrational he thinks he's the smartest man in every room that he walks in.
That is his biggest fault. That is his biggest problem.
Right. He needs to talk to you though.
No. I think his biggest problem is that he believes he is the smartest person in the room. I think that's what it is. Like, the fact that you didn't speak to this woman before you wanted to give a show, so you're going to wait till the camera is turned on to talk about what you need to talk about. It means you already thought you have this covered. That is a problem. That level of arrogance is absolutely annoying, and it will lead you to your doom, because it definitely led her to getting what she wanted. Like, obviously, she set it up to have a good interview so she can go in the manosphere, right? She saw your interview with Coach Greg Adams and that the manosphere hated you. She's a part of the manosphere. She's not your friend at this moment. That is very easy to understand. That is very easy to understand. Hafiz and I would not get along at all. I don't think we would ever get along because his personality and mine would clash immediately. And I wouldn't fight. He would be annoyed and I would probably remove him. But I'm never opposed to talk to anyone. So they can come on. I don't do disrespect. I don't disrespect people. So I don't get any disrespect. I don't take it if I can control it. So I'm here for it. And I would love to talk to him. I wish he would do better. I like that he was out here trying to sell suits. I wish they weren't, whatever. But it's just not. It's not a good look anymore. I think he's failed. And he can come back from it.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Alex, and then Alicia.
You know something, Themis. I actually, talked to I actually talked to a white man on my panel last night, and he's married to a black woman. And and trust me, if you were there, Demons, you would be blown away about the things that the good things that he says about black women, because
I would
black
not.
women,
I promise you I would not here.
Actually, he has nothing but good things to say about black women. Black women has been in his life ever since he was 5 years old, and his babysitter was a black woman, and they got along together. And what he sees is that when it comes to black men, they want to whine and complain, which makes black men like you and me somehow get put with the bad ones, and that makes us have to prove that we are not. And at this point, somehow I'm thinking that maybe Cynthia G was right. I don't agree with her when it comes to abortion, but I agree with her when it comes to um black men, going around actually saying, what they say about black women. And then they would use white women against black women too. And I'm like, this is why I'm not marrying uh, no black. If anyone agrees with the black manosphere, I consider her not marriage material at all, because I do not want a woman who listens to the manosphere and also wants to follow their teachings. I'm not for that.
That's on comma, Alexander, and that is on comma.
That is on comma. I do generally don't really. It doesn't. When I say it wouldn't matter to me, my opinion of black women is outside the lens of black men, outside the lens of white men and their opinion completely. And I try to keep it that way. I don't mind listening, but I wouldn't. It wouldn't change. Like I don't care. I hope not that I don't care about you and what you're doing, and I need to come watch your channel, but I don't. Regarding white man's opinion of black women. Hopefully now they can understand microaggression in the workplace. Black women, we experience it all the time from white women, and everyone, including black men, don't see it. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Thank you, by the way, Alexander. I appreciate you. What's your channel name? I'm probably gonna look at it.
My channel name is Alexander Brannon, and I also hold the pick Mishas and the pick me's accountable on there
Oh,
too.
no, I don't use that language, but I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Next time I will not say that on here.
You're fine. We're all learning it now. I appreciate you for coming on, though. Thank you.
Bye, Alex.
Oh, Annalisa said bye.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Was it I am B? How do you say your name? Hello? All right.
She's very low. Who goes there? Can't hear.
Hello, can you hear me?
Barely. Nope, cannot hear. Prince Betty.
I just hated. I hate those type of people who hide passive aggressiveness under the guise of asking questions and then kind of play dumb when you call them out. I really hate that. And that's what this was giving. Well, why are you getting so rude with me? I'm just a woman. I'm calm and submissive. Look at me, especially women without melanin. Also, I did want to point out that the prophecy has been fulfilled. I did predict this moment 8 months ago on one of your live streams. Hafiz turning over a new leaf, and genuinely, aside from the claims that he might be doing this to give marital advice, just giving up his old ways. And I put a clip to that in the private chat.
Wait, let me play it. So that's just annoying. Why is it so petty? You're on mute.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely here to defend Hafiz, and I have good reasoning. I have good reasoning behind my defense.
All right. So Hafiz said that. What are you defending? That he's not a part of the manosphere?
So I think mainly what I've seen you saying and in the chat and from the people coming up is that he's kind of being disingenuous, right? Like this isn't a true change of his ideas. He's just grifting or being just disingenuous about what he believes. Like maybe he's actually in the manosphere, but he's talking about I'm a male accountability and all that he's been talking about.
So Hafiz said that men should take the blame, that men are the ones who are going to be judged. And that's just annoying. That it?
No, that was not the full clip. It only lets you clip so long, so it is what it is. But I definitely said there is no reason for Hafiz to give up his entire audience. He has nothing to gain at all. He's just going to get dragged by the manosphere if he turn over this new leaf. And here we are today, and here he is getting dragged by the entire.
I disagree, Prince Petty. I disagree.
Okay, what is your disagreement?
I think he has he stands to gain something. Otherwise, he wouldn't do it. So you guys think that this is like an internal shift? Like you think, you don't think that it has anything to do with marketing, maybe PR, maybe like what trajectory he wants to go in, or like you really think that this is like some sort of moral, principled, or internal?
I do.
Wow.
I do.
See, this is what I wanted to say to that, because I think that, and this is nothing against men. I don't even know if it's your fault. It could be biology. But I think that men in general, specifically Black men, have, they're not, in terms of their emotional intelligence, it's not giving. It simply doesn't give the way that it should give. So I think that it's probably harder to recognize, passive aggressive behavior, or, someone who is being authentic, or someone who's introspective, or someone who's honest. I think that men generally struggle with that, but Black men, because of the arrogance and because of other sort of psychological elements that I won't discuss, I think that they struggle with it a little bit more. Not Themis, not you, Prince Petty, but I think as a general matter, I think that being able to recognize behavior in others, you have to be able to recognize behavior in yourself first, right?
Well,
and because you mirror your behavior.
What does this have to do with him having, what is the benefit that he gained, from switching up and losing his entire audience?
There's a market for everything. This is 2022. There is a market for everything. There is a niche for everything. Believe me, it's all about how you can market yourself. That's it. If build it and they will come. In other words, I promise you that in my opinion, I shouldn't promise you, but in my opinion,
and here's why I don't believe that. I strongly believe there is more money in these men with the videos of them kicking the women out and dragging Black women. Like Themis showed several of those clips at the beginning of the live. there's a lot more money to be made doing that than there is in actually critiquing men, especially in that niche of YouTube. Now, to the extent that he can find a new niche, I don't know. I don't think so. I really don't. I think his channel would die before that happened.
But he's a married man now. You have to remember, he's a married man. Who is he rubbing elbows with? Is he rubbing elbows with the degenerate O'Shea's of the world or the Ruslands of the world, the Jordan Petersons of the world, right? Like, you have to, what circles is he superimposing? And I'm going to say he's superimposing himself into them because I don't think he's being ingratiated. He's not smart enough. But what circles is he superimposing himself into? Who does he want to rub shoulders and elbows with? So yeah, no, he has, I think he has a plan. He has a plan, I'm sure. He's just, his execution and his general personality is just garbaggio. But no, there's a point. There's a point. There's a method to the madness, always.
Okay, I could be too slow to see it, so we'll have to wait to see what Hafiz does next. I don't think you're wrong, by the way. I just I would just call it a difference of opinion. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing.
So I can admit that my want, I can admit that my want to see an improvement is clouding my clouded my judgment before I came on live. And when I'm on, I was becoming more objective in my analysis because I'm like sitting down watching it. But I do accept that, and I thought about this too, like he really loves Jordan Peterson. Like he really wants Jordan Peterson to accept him as the black son. So I think after Jordan Peterson came on and he got engaged and all of that, it felt like he was changing, and I noticed it. My problem was whether or not he was doing it meaningfully because he didn't own anything. The issue I'm having is he does gain a broader audience. If we accept him as changed, he does get a broader audience. That's the factor. Like none of the degenerate manospheric ideas can go mainstream. It won't happen. But he could if we accept it as genuine, and people, and Jordan Peterson accepts him and those kinds of people accept him, then yeah, he could. So I think there's a lot to gain in the long term, but in the immediate sort of content creation atmosphere, yeah, no, he's gonna get dragged for a while. And I don't know if I thought he was able to think that far in the future to question this being authentic. But maybe he is, because if he's talking with these men, they're actually probably telling him like, this is, he don't have to think ultimately is what I'm saying. They will do the thinking for him and tell him what to do.
But that's what he needs. That's why he wants to be around those type of men, because he doesn't have it for himself. He needs to, like, it's the birds of a feather flock together kind of a thing. People tend to mirror each other's behaviors, you know, share commonalities. But that's what I was saying. Like when I was watching the interview, at one point, it was a point where he wasn't as loud, so I was actually able to listen to what he was saying. But I heard, if I close my eyes, I heard Jordan Peterson, like when he was trying to differentiate between statistics and data and sort of humanizing those things or scratch beneath the surface. And, you know, because you're talking about human lives, right? And you can't reduce them to numbers and data and statistics. Like, why are things happening? I'm like, okay, he's in his Jordan Peterson bag, and that is a lucrative bag. So yeah, no, I think that the road to whatever path he wants to take and trajectory he wants to reach, it's going to be turbulent in the interim, but ultimately, it is lucrative. It's just a pivot. He's pivoting. Kevin Samuels did it before he died of diabetes. Like if people do it, like you pivot in life.
I hate you for that. Why did you have to add diabetes in there?
I'm so sorry.
By the way, check your Instagram. What do you say to that, Petty?
Again, I don't think it's wrong to have either side of this. Like you said, The long term is where we really should is where we will really be able to tell what's going on and whether or not it's a grift or a legitimate change, which is the same view I had in the clip I showed you.
Yeah, women who want to marry will be his new bag. Look, now I do have different views. I have Petty on one shoulder saying this is real, listen to him, and Alicia on the other saying, yeah, this is a scam. So I think it's interesting. Obviously, I'm not buying anything, so I'm going to continue to watch. I'm going to continue to watch him. I'm not going to subscribe, but I'm still going to continue to watch, and maybe he will come back as a commercial. I actually I did a video on Hafeez that literally called him out and dragged him that I never post or edited. Let me show you guys what it is since we're here now. Where is it? I never edited it, so you will see my unedited video. I'm gonna try to play some of it for y'all. Hey guys, welcome back to Wait, oh my god, I just wait, I'm gonna stop it, but I'm so annoyed by this. But this is unedited. I'm just me regardless, but whatever. Listen, don't grab your coffee, water, tea, whatever you're drinking. Go and get that. Today we're going to be talking about Hafeez. All right. To start, I do not hate this man. I do not know this man. In fact, I thought in his wanting to distance himself from the manosphere that he would evolve into a really good content creator for men and men development. Now, the question is he only selling suits? And I might say no. And the reason is I think there is something maybe through osmosis that one can develop in just talking about the quote unquote 1%, even if there's no real strategy for how to get there. And I think the sexiness and the appeal of wanting to be a quote unquote high value man still exist. And he is exploiting that, not in a negative way. When I say exploiting, I mean he's using that, leveraging it to put his content out there. And I don't think that is a bad thing. His videos have lessened or all but disappeared that were aimed specifically at women. They are.
And so I'm gonna play.
These are your ideas, but fell short. Sorry, I can't listen to me talk. It's annoying. So I'm gonna stop. Essentially, I went into that and I dragged. I might release it. I dragged. I watched a video where he was lying and saying those weren't his ideas. He heard it from somewhere else. He said what? So I found all the videos where he said what he never said he said. This is annoying. And I played it. And after I created this video, I was about to edit it when I got the notification that he did 2 other interviews where he is pushing back. And I felt bad about sort of what I was saying in this video. So I never edited it. And I told myself the reason it didn't get released is because I never edited it. But I felt bad. And that's ultimately why I never put it out, because there was too many receipts. And I don't know, I wanted more from Hafeez and I thought I got it. And I was trying to hold on to like any sliver of like, he is a good man doing what he needs to do. Actually, let me go to the end. I no longer believe this fully. Themis, I think Hafeez is changing slowly. Yeah. Let me go to the end.
That's just baby Themis. We love it.
Yeah. Relationship, they're online complaining about women. They obviously like women. And I will argue they do not. In fact, they will tell you that they do not. Let's just go. I'm not going to play all of them.
You don't
explain. Knowing
We are all content creators online, and we will mess up. And hopefully, the good content creators are the people who can admit that they have been wrong, and hopefully, they didn't cause any meaningful harm, and they can address those wrong and grow from it, not hide behind other people. And those people say things that you yourself were espousing, not hide behind the fact that you were part of the group that perpetuated, literally perpetuated the dragging down and humbling of women, right? Now we have a conversation online about the Black woman's ego, right? By people who don't even know enough to understand how ego works, what ego is versus self esteem. And finally, a group of women acknowledging that I do deserve to be respected, right? I do need to have support if I'm willing to give support. It should be a reciprocal relationship, right? That seems foreign to men. And I think that we are at the stage where we can acknowledge that a lot of these people do not want equality. They do not want to dismantle systems of power, but rather they want to rise up in that system of power to dominate other people. And that fundamentally is my problem with Hafeez and the manosphere generally, right? This idea that everything is changing and being an average man is not enough. Yeah, it's not. It's not enough. It is what it is. Why it's not enough? Because you need a woman or whoever you're partnering with to bring their world into yours, and you both support each other to create a family, build a community, or whatever it is that you want to do. The fact that you need help means that the roles have shifted. And because you cannot financially provide for everyone by yourself, it means you don't have the authority and power over people like men once did, right? Hate the patriarchy all you want, because you cannot ascribe to the roles assigned to you, but don't blame feminism for inflation. That is a product of economic change that you can either get with or get out of. Like, it is what it is. I am done with Hafeez. I'm kind of done with the manosphere generally. There will be a lot of videos here and there. But specifically, as it relates to Hafeez, I find him disingenuous. He does not have a spine, in my opinion. Sorry, I wanted to stop it before I got to that point. There was a little drag at the end, but the whole point is that I was so mad at him because he failed that when I saw that moment where he did what I thought was okay, I literally was like, oh my God, yes, he's right. And I was wrong. But now I'm like, I don't know anymore.
I think you knew all along. That's what I think you knew all along. I think that you, again, you're like that parent on the sideline with the kid who's like always struggling and always tripping over their feet. Like, you're just but you know that they should be cut from the team. You know, in your heart.
Yeah. Thank you, Pamela. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what happened with Hafeez. I just kind of showed that because this video will probably never, I don't know. I'm not going to post it. I'm no longer going to post it. This video was, let me see when I did this. This was before that man came out and started talking. This was 2 weeks ago. This was before I went to, oh, this was a while ago, actually. This was about 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And it's not that I forgot. It's just like I knew what I had said and I knew my feelings, and I hated that I thought that. So I was looking for any opportunity to be wrong. Like, you know how people find things to reaffirm their own belief? I don't do that. I actually try to find things to like say that I was wrong.
Yeah, because I'm like that too. I like the challenge, but then sometimes I also have to say to myself, "Oh no, okay, I'm right. I was right." I don't like the confirmation bias. I get that, But sometimes when sometimes the world is round, we got to get over it. Sometimes 2 + 2 is 4. And, what's that expression when you try to put a circle in a square peg or whatever it is? Like, it doesn't fit. He doesn't fit.
But don't you remember just yesterday we put a circle in a square peg at the very end of the video when I drew the entire whiteboard black and I erased a circle in the middle and said sometimes we can have hope. That's okay, at least I feel like.
I admire, I wish that I had that level of optimism. But no, the answer is no.
I understand. At some point, hope dies, I think, when you get a little older, not just about like Hafiz, but about things generally.
Yeah, I think the older you get, the more realistic you become about yourself and the world around you. But and this is not to say anything about young people, because I love young people, but I just think that sometimes once you get someone's number in life, when you meet people who are sort of you kind of like, I have your number. You know what I mean? Like, I understand what's going on around me. And usually the way that we learn that is an extremely negative experience or a maladaptive way of learning it. But I've learned, and Hafiz is he's one of those. Always has been, always will be. But he'll make his money, and that's ultimately his objective in this space and in life. Because I think when I look at Hafiz, I see someone who is struggling to acquire and maintain control at all times. Those kind of people for me are dangerous, but that's what I see when I see Hafiz. And so I think the acquisition of power and money and all of those things, I think he's gonna get it ultimately. So he's not really gonna care about what any of us think or say. That's why I can really be reckless, because
I hope so. I hope he don't care. I actually feel sorry for him. He made a fool of himself in public. Someone was saying about my hair. I think I misspoke. So I just went to the video and opened it. I did this on October 5th. So that it wasn't 2 weeks ago. So my hair took 3 weeks to grow, not 2 or 2.5, but yeah. Hafiz wants to be a great man and leave a legacy as a leader of men. He just doesn't know how. Agreed. If I don't believe anything, I believe this. Hafiz wants to be a great man. Great in the sense that people look up to him and he is popular, and a leader in that same way. And I don't think he knows how to do it. He was taking his cues from the red pill until his experience with Jordan Peterson shook him up. Yeah, no, Jordan dragged him. So I don't know. I am more inclined to believe that I don't believe what he's saying now. And the thing is, anyone with any level of intelligence who look into the manosphere and then look at the data knows that the manosphere is not doing much. Like, it's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it's very easy. That's the easy part. So I don't know. Jaren is back. Jaren says, manosphere discourse now in 2022 is beat to death. Just look at Pearl's channel, Sword, Oldest, Laughable. If he's trying to shift gears is real, but will fail because people want him more men versus women BS. I don't know if it's real, but I do believe people want the man versus women thing.
I think what kind of people? Like, you don't have to be a psychologist. You don't have to be clinically trained to know that the manosphere generally and the members in it are psychologically defective in some way. Psychologically, socially, definitely emotionally. I'm not saying this to be disrespectful. I'm just saying you don't have to be a detective or a psychologist to know that. So I think that him pivoting, he doesn't want to deal with them. That's not his targeted audience. So yeah, they're going to drag him, but he doesn't want them. He's trying to distance himself from them anyways. Like, he has a targeted demographic in mind, and it's probably more religiously inclined, probably about marriage, and then the next step after that is family. Like, he might be somebody who has like a family vlog, like a family channel, who knows? But he's definitely pivoting, and it's going to be lucrative. I don't know why you guys, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, yeah, I was conflicted, but Petty is doing a poor job of like convincing me the other way right now. Maybe he needs this whiteboard.
I've seen people change overnight. I've seen a lot of Black women who are in this sector of YouTube literally just wake up one day to the data where they were once blind. To the extent that his change is real, don't know. I think it's genuine. You think it's don't, and I feel like that's okay. That we both think differently about that. I don't know how lucrative talking to married folks is. I don't know how lucrative that is to switch up from young 18 to 24-year-old Black males that he said his audience is majority to I guess married couples now, but maybe that is.
But you don't think it, not just married couples, but like coaching people to be married. Derek Jackson, well, not really, but you kind of like, so you can have a wider audience. Like part of what he did too is he was very specific about saying, I am not a Black content creator. I'm just a content creator. So like we know he wants to widen his net. Which I'm not saying anything is bad with that. I don't, but I don't think anything is wrong with that. I do actually fundamentally.
Can both of these things be true? Can he want to widen his net and change his audience from the kind of dusty men who are all watching and angry commenting, like the red pill rage men, to a broader audience of more mature people with more nuanced ideas and be making a genuine change? I don't think those.
No. That's an unfair to ask because we all know that is possible. But whether or not he is doing it is the question.
Don't know. I think so.
Yeah.
You guys you guys think not. I think you have legitimate reason to think not. That's fine.
And I know, and I think that your perspective, because and I actually, Prince Petty, I don't know your history in this space, like YouTube specifically, but when you're coming, like when you've been exposed to the manosphere, I haven't been exposed like in that way. I've had my my issues. They're degenerate, obviously, but I think when you've been really exposed to the manosphere space, it makes sense to me to think. It would make sense to think that way, that like there's no way that he could sort of turn a leaf or pivot or, change rhetoric, just because of how pervasive and degenerate the manosphere is, and their propensity to turn on you and drag you and in some cases end careers. So from that vantage point, I could understand. But from my vantage point, I'm not an expert in any field. I'm a master of none, but I think that anybody in life can pivot if they have the money, if they understand how to market themselves, if they understand the way that PR works, and if they are rubbing elbows with the right people. That's what I think.
I guess.
Wait, before you go though, I do have a question because the Jordan Peterson moment I think might have been the biggest transitional moment for him, and I think Hafiz loved Jordan Peterson more than his own dad, honestly. And I think being scolded by the person you look up to the most might have an impact. I don't know how much of an impact, because for me, I wouldn't care about what a Jordan Peterson has to say to me. But it looks like Hafiz worship Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
And to be scolded by him, I remember actually saying, I wonder if it's going to change now, because the person he idolized and gives godhood to just told him, you suck and what you're doing is wrong and this is annoying and you're just terrible.
Yeah, imagine the person or someone that you have so much reverence for, right? It's like your parent. Imagine disappointing them, or imagine not living a life that they would subscribe or agree to, right? For me, I think it was his ego that took the hit more than anything else. I don't think it was like a coming to Jesus moment. I think it was damn, I think it put emphasis on how far away he is from becoming someone like Jordan Peterson. It just it made it more acute for him. And I think that's why he decided he needs to pivot, because there was nothing but reverence. It's it is godlike, and it's paternal. It was not on Jordan Peterson's end, but on his.
Yeah. So even if it's not real, hopefully it's strong enough to hold him there, because we know he wants to be in Jordan Peterson's good graces. So
how are you able to discern whether or not it's genuine?
if something goes wrong and if it's like not unstable for a moment, they revert back to their original plan, right? When I believe something, I will say it regardless of whether or not this channel is going to do well or not, whether or not my friends are going to like it or not, whether or not my community is going to be mad at me or not. For me, if you are not being authentic, I don't think you should be trusted, because when the going gets tough, you run away. You know what I mean? I don't appreciate that, and I think you're grifting at that point.
And to add to that, sorry, Pritz, just to add to what he's saying, because I agree. What Themis is describing is consistency, right? I stand on something consistently. I believe in something consistently, right? It's for me, the way that I'm able to discern and differentiate between people who are authentic and people who are not is how consistent you are with what you believe in, with what you prioritize, with who you are, with what, like, to me, I know who he doesn't have a leg to stand on. Like, his square is always moving and he can barely stand on it, barely, just barely. So for me, no, he's inauthentic. He is not genuine. But there's a market for that anyways, right? But yeah, it's for me, consistency, even change. Are you changing consistently? Because change is not it's not like a lateral, like it happens in waves and it's very slow and progressive. So he's really sort of going from one extreme to another. And so for me, that's a red flag.
Okay. So you both think he has not been consistent after the Jordan Peterson moment, to the point where you made a video that he had no spine. Or what about?
You want to know why I said he had no spine?
I thought it was because he is not willing to. He does the Joe Rogan thing where whoever comes on has his same opinion every time.
Oh yeah, that's it. And in one of the videos, like, those people were talking about this and those people were talking about that. In an interview with I forgot this man, some British guy, he was talking to him and he was pretending like he didn't say modern women were unmarriageable and they wanted too much and that they have changed and feminism changed modern women. I remember him specifically saying that. And he pretended like he didn't say it, and those people were idiotic for saying it. So I got really annoyed, and I went back to the archives, and I found every time he said it. And he actually said it with Ruslan. The most explicitly he did it was with Ruslan. And I was like, why are you not taking ownership of that which you said? I don't like that. Say, at one point, I believe this, and I said this. Don't say those people out there somewhere in the ether believe this. And I think it's bad, but what do you say to it? No, if it's your opinion, say it's your opinion. I hate people who do that. Say it's your opinion. Own your opinion. So that's why I said he was spineless.
Okay. What about now that there's been, as of a few days ago, now there's the hey, I used to say this stuff and it was bad.
I mean, the other one was also a few days ago, but I appreciate that he said it. That was the later one. It wasn't a few days ago. The first one that I did was like a month ago. I appreciated that, and that's why I didn't put the thing calling him out about his spine.
So
I didn't put that out.
So now at this point, which I would consider similar to the Jordan Peterson point, because we're calling this significant because he's now admitted his own fault in that it was wrong. Is this a point where we can now look at his behavior over the next 8 months, since that video the clip was from 8 months ago, and see how consistent he is as far as taking accountability for what his channel used to be?
Yeah, no, I mean, he said he's not going to make a lot of videos. He took ownership. So regardless of if I believe Annalisa more or you more, I'm still going to watch. I'm not going to just cut him off and say, oh, he's not there's no possibility of change. No, I've seen a lot of people change. A lot of people have told me they've changed. And if I am willing to watch, if they were affecting me, then I would care more, right? But they're not affecting me. So I'm willing to watch and see if he does change and if he does provide more insight and if he does actually try to help men. Like, I'm all for that. I do. By the way, I do think men need help. Like, I think That was going to come out like a read, and I don't mean it like a read. I think black men, let me not broaden the net too far. I think black men in their sociopolitical climate need help because they have not adopted, and not help from women or anything, from men. I don't think we've adopted to the new era of information, the information age. I don't think we have adopted to the reality that masculinity, for example, in its overt aggression, even if you care about that, does not define manhood. You literally can't buy anything. You can't do anything. There are a ton of masculine, big macho men locked up in prison by, and I've said this before, by men who can't even speak with a deep voice or who don't have muscles, right? So we know that the people who control the world currently don't have to be as physically strong and have a deep voice as we perform masculinity in the black community. And it's very annoying that, like, we have these conversation about, oh, he's not masculine, he's not a man, he's not the, because no one cares. You are still at the bottom being as masculine as you want. Maybe that's why you are there, to hold up the pyramid for everyone else to be on. And so I wish we were more thoughtful about building our minds in the same way that we build our bodies, right? And the way we think about, oh, you need to be physically strong and abrasive, be mentally strong and abrasive. Like, because I don't mind, I love a good aesthetics. I go to the gym for a good aesthetic. So period. But there's more to it than that. Like, build up your mind. Think. Know that you shouldn't go on this woman's podcast to be used in that way. Do some research before you go there. Have some foresight, in the words of Annalicia. Like, do something more to indicate to us that it is not just your physical body that you're building and that persona that you're trying to create, but that you are actually doing deep thinking. And I think there's a lack of deep thinking. Love this space. Real question. If a man deletes himself because he learns that 3 children he's paid money for is child support aren't his children, have a place. Can you read that for me? Because I'm thinking I'm confused.
That's love this space. Real question. If a man deletes himself because he learns that the 3 children he's paid money for in child support aren't his children, have a place in, are you asking if they have a place in understanding? Like, are we understanding to that plate? Is that what you're asking? Because that's a pretty specific and morbid question, first of all. But while she's saying yes or no, I think that, so that I don't know the video, the first video, because I wanted to talk about that if we're able to. The first video, I wanted to pose the question to you guys, the question that he posed.
Well, before you ask the questions, let me say yes, a place, like, that's sad, unfortunate. What I would never laugh at that. But before you do, okay, here his theme is sticking up for black men degeneracy. No surprise here. He's after all a black man. When did I stick up for black men degeneracy?
He just got here.
Huh?
He just got here, Themis. Who cares?
All right. Yeah, true. Go ahead.
No, but like, sir, you just got here, sir or ma'am. You just got here. So
why are you attacking him? He's not even yelling. He's talking calmly, and you guys are attacking him. Stop.
I think that yeah, I don't even like, I don't breathe life into the beach waves of the world. Like, slap yourself, move on to another stream. Like, anyways, yeah, I don't want to get into that energy, because once I start, I can't stop. But I think that the question that I wanted to pose, because I guess the answer to the question, I'm curious as to whether or not it involves women, and if it does, to what degree. But if men are going to rewrite the narrative or the script on their lives, their place and positions in the world, their contributions to the world and their families, what does the script read? What does it look like? What does it sound like?
Wait, can you repeat that question?
It was the question that the white man earlier posed, and he said, you know, what does it look, what should it look like now? Men's position in the world, their place in the world, their contributions. How do we cultivate their capacity or their abilities? What do you guys, because you guys are men, what do you guys think the new narrative or the new script should read? Like, how do you guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So in the way I define masculinity, let's do it for the first time. It's not the first. Masculinity for me is no well, whatever. I believe I should be able, I don't want to call it masculinity. I believe I should be able to provide for and protect people that I care about and just people generally. I believe it is my responsibility to contribute positively as much as I can to my community, right? I can do that. So in my mind, when I hear people say we need to restructure manhood and I'm like, all right, period, you can do that. And that's fine because I don't care how you do your life. But I don't, like, I don't think like we need to completely transform society in that way. I do think men feel like they're in a box and they can fulfill the standard put on them, but that was put on you by other men for you to have control and power in the system, right? And so it doesn't make sense to me that we are now going to redefine manhood because men can't meet and compete with women in the system that they've created. We should have been redefining manhood at the point when it was oppressing women, right? You know what I mean? Like we should have, I don't think it's now that men are at a disadvantage in a system that they create that we are going to, you put yourself at a disadvantage in your system. Sounds like a you problem to me. And as a man, I feel kind of annoyed that we're kind of sitting out saying, oh, the reason is because school is more feminine. No, you can sit there and you can learn to do math and algebra and English. You can do it. I think men's capacity is being dimmed by people who are attempting to baby them and say, oh, we need to change the entire system because men don't know how to compete against women, even though you've had how many centuries year advantage? Like you've had centuries, a century more, 4 or 5 centuries of being in there doing it before women ever had the capacity to come in. I don't have the kind of sympathy. Like I do sympathize, but the kind of sympathy where I'm saying, oh, let's uproot the system now so we can change it so men can go to school at a later time than women, so we can employ more men than women in this way, like all the solution that man was providing. I'm not for it. No, you create a system and you're failing at it. So that's how I see it. I don't know if that answered your question.
It did comprehensively, and I agree. But the one thing that I also believe women should also protect. It's just in a different way, right? Like when I say protect your kids, I mean protect them and insulate them emotionally, right? Like advocate. Advocacy is a level. It's a level of insulation and protection. So I 100% agree with that. I just think that it's interesting. It's a little bit annoying to me that. And I love the way the underpinning of white supremacy in the I guess the theology or the ideology that, you know what, things are just not working for us. Society is going to bend their will to us once again. We don't bend our will for you as men, as a class of people. Society must bend their will to us. I think it was interesting that he sort of like there was undertones. He kind of covertly said that, and I love the way that white supremacy sort of came out inadvertently, I would say. But I think that it's interesting when women are able to meaningfully engage in pedagogy. And mind you, men have had a head start. When I say that they've had a head start, I'm talking about racing Usain Bolt versus a 5-year-old child or an amputee, like somebody with no legs. Like men have had an acute head start. And I think that it's interesting that when women are able to meaningfully engage in pedagogy, engage in economics, which ultimately lead to economic advancement, I think when we're able to engage in technology, in globalization, when we're able to actually take control and implement agency in our social and political lives, we do, and we excel in a way that only men could do when they stacked the deck, when they were able to create a system that politically and economically locked out women and other groups of people. I think it's interesting that we can do it, and we don't need to subjugate anybody. So that really, for all the women in the chat, that speaks to the greatness. Oh God, it's overwhelming.
Talking about stack the deck, they talk about how they're describing affirmative action for men. It's not affirmative action. You are, like you just said, stacking the deck. That's what you're doing when you are giving people who have never been disenfranchised ever in human history that we can remember, right, by the other gender. You are going to give them an advantage in education and employment. Really? That you think that's a great idea? I don't care if you think it's a great idea. We know it's wrong. Talking about, oh, women were better built for the system that who created?
I think that men, men think that men for a long time, not all men, forget it. I'm not doing that whole not all thing, but I think men for a long time thought that women are inferior because we should be relegated to more, child rearing, more domestic duties. But now they're realizing, wait a minute, you guys can do as well as us and better. I think A, they're resentful. And I think B, it kind of concerns me because men, historically speaking, are absolutely diabolical in the ways that they approach political war or like anything. When they need to get something, and I'm talking colonization, they kind of go in and they take it. So that kind of concerns me because the manosphere, that's the nucleus, like that's the core of their argument. Like, how dare you women not be in the house making me food and cleaning my house? Like that's the nucleus of the argument, I think. So that kind of concerns me, but I could tell you right now, I'm not bending to anyone's will. Like I simply won't do it. So
yeah, and I mean it does speak to. And it's funny because I think the manosphere is just like a small drip in the ocean, like a raindrop in the ocean, in the sea. Because what we're talking about is a global reality that, given the chance, women are out competing men. So even this notion that women are not logical, that women are not are just emotional and they're not suited for this or suited for that. It's like, all right, girl, well, now they are competing you. So what are you going to do about that?
I think the way to gauge one's intelligence, how well do you adapt? How well does one adapt to their environment, to an ever-moving and changing system that they have no control over or minimal control over? I think that tells you how intelligent you are, and I think that women, we're smart. I'll even say, not you, Themis, because I think that honestly, I think you're the smartest man that I've ever met. But I think that women are smarter. But
that's high praise.
No, everybody knows that you are. But I think that women are intelligent, but guess what? We also birth children and we rear them as well. So like you're dealing with like a quadruple threat. Not you guys. I'm saying like the manosphere and men. That's why they're so mad. They're so mad. But it's like a quadruple threat. Like we figure out a way not to do it all, but to adapt so that we can continue to, as a class of people, to move forward. And not get left behind. And that speaks to the level of intelligence, perseverance, tenacity that we have. Black women. I'm talking about Black women. I'm not talking about all women. I'm talking about Black women.
I mean, I think when I said it's the prototype, we know, and it's not because of this beautiful sort of evolution. No, I think Black women are the prototype, not because of the I just woke up. No, it's hard work that Black women had to engage in because of racism and slavery. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like this is why the part of the Woman King that I did not like, we're not getting into it, is I think there is a way that like white feminists uplifts Black womanhood and want to sort of copy it in terms of agency and self-actualization that I don't really like, because I don't think there is an appreciation for the work and the pain that got you there. You know what I mean? Like for Black women to be where they are, it was a lot of like real actual work and pain. And I feel like for other groups of women, there is a way that they can just co-opt that and be that. And it feels disingenuous. I don't like saying, "Oh, you didn't do the whole work, so you shouldn't get the payoff." But that's what I'm feeling now, just as a general matter. But anywho, I think that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I don't really get the argument that. Well, actually, obviously, I agree with you, but. I don't really ever see Black women are in their own category. As much as Black men try to put us in, or to degrade and put us in a very demeaning category, Black women are in their own lane. They always have been. They're in their own category. They always have been. But I think it's interesting when men sort of go back to the argument of, 50, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, everybody was average. An average man could get this woman. Like, define average. Average is relative to the time, to the, like, let's think about inflation. Like, average in what way? He was still providing. He's still fulfilling his role. Like, men are still just as average. Men lack the emotional capacity and the emotional awareness to do any heavy lifting in a meaningful relationship. Like, they're still where they're at today. Like, just like, don't die on that hill. Back away from that argument.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, I think this is where I'm gonna stop then before Prince can come in, Prince Petty. I think the manosphere is a bunch of men sitting around licking their wounds now. Sorry. No, that was petty. What are you saying, Prince Petty?
The newscaster, or whoever he was who came on the news for the first video, I think echoes what a lot of men are upset about, and that is, after giving a group of marginalized people equal rights, they are outpacing us. It's concerning that his idea about there needing to be a new form of masculinity, like you said, wasn't driven by a type of inequality or mistreatment of women, but rather men kind of losing their power position in society. But I would agree. I think that masculinity should change. I would agree with him there, and that men need help. I don't know that they need help from women, but yeah, I would agree men need help too. A lot of help. I think we can all agree there. These men need help.
Is Jaron gonna come on, Themis?
Wait, is Jaron? I thought he left. What did he say?
Jaron is he is not fun to have a conversation with by any means. But...
Oh yeah, no, it's not. It's fine. I was gonna call him. So I've graduated in my content creation where, like, at one point I was like, oh my God, we're the men, so I want to talk I don't care anymore. I have lovely conversation with women and some men on here, so I'm not gonna sit here and call for men. Like, it wasn't for content creation that I wanted to talk to them. I just wanted to hear what they have to say, and apparently they have nothing to say. So I just build my content and go. It's interesting though that like it does bother me. Like I know I should leave that comment alone and I can't. That this idea that I'm cuddling men. And it's interesting that the person would say that. And I know, Annalisa, you are correct. I should let this go. I cannot, because I do worry that in the kind of space that we're creating, there is a very specific kind of bifurcation of ideology, right? It's like you're either here or you're there. It's binary thinking. We don't care. There is no nuance. If that is you, let me just point this out. I believe systemic racism is a thing. I've said this so many times. I believe the criminal justice system is absolutely horrendous for Black people, specifically Black men. And I think they would do better to focus on things that are systemically oppressive to them than to be pointing at Black women. So if at any point you came here, and I'm not just talking to you generally, I'm talking to everyone. Like I found my tribe on here, and we can stop growing at this point. It's like I don't care anymore. But I am not going to sit here and lie for anyone. I will never be caught up in the Hafeez trap where I can't go back on something when I've gotten new information. As soon as I am proven wrong, you all will know, because I will say it. Hashtag Themis is always right is not a thing, because I am not always right. I am human, I am fallible, and as soon as I'm proven wrong, even publicly, I will admit when I am wrong, why I think I am wrong, and what I'm doing to solve that problem or lack of knowledge, ignorance on my part. I am not dogmatic in that way. I promise you I'm not. I'm very malleable. but in the right ways, I believe. So if you thought I'm just, oh, women never do anything wrong, you would be wrong. Actually, reading King versus Smith, I was very mad at the Black woman who went to the Supreme Court to fight to be with a man with 9 children. Like what? Why are you going to the Supreme Court to fight to be with a man with 9 children? Absolutely not. So if I came off as if I think I'm always right, no, I'm not always right. Please don't ever take that stance with me.
I think it was Beach Waves. Any fully formed adult knows that we do what we can with the information that we have at the time, right? And that's why we're constantly changing and evolving. Anyone who is so rigid in their thinking and not malleable in that way, first of all, it's myopic. To me, it's just childlike, right? It's like digging your feet in the sand. It's like, no, change. You can change. Your ideas can change, and guess what? You can be wrong, and then you can admit that you're wrong. It's only people who have an aversion to accountability and admitting that they're the one. Like it's your problem. That's the only reason why Themis, because I feel like it's really obvious that you don't coddle Black men. I think it's more obvious that, again, you're like the parent on the sideline. And even that is gratuitous. Even that is giving way too much. I just think that you have a degree of hope and optimism, and it's not really anyone's place to tell you to have it or not have it, right? Like, you're going to learn on your own whether who you should have that hope and optimism with and who you should throw in the towel with. You're going to learn. So people just need to shut the hell up.
Yeah, I agree. Even with hell in there, I agree. But I think we've been on for 4 hours almost. I do appreciate you and Alicia for coming on. Prince Petty, Alexander came up. I forgot who else. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you. We could have finished the video, but I didn't want to because it just seemed like I would have continued down the line of dragging Hafiz, and I don't want to. Apparently today is his birthday. I don't know. Someone said it in the chat, but I didn't look it up. Prince Petty, anything?
It's crazy. You just got the men were in the live chat dragging you yesterday because you're being too harsh on the men, and today you're coddling them and getting, I guess, dragged for it again, for in the chat. So I mean,
can't win.
That make me feel like it. You're at least you're in the middle. Both people are mad. Both sides are. So.
Period. And I'm with that. I was waiting for a whiteboard moment, but there was none. Unfortunately, I'm kidding. No.
The whiteboard is blank. You see, yesterday it was just a small white spot in the middle because I had a little hope. But today I saw Hafiz say he was wrong in the past, and now everything is hopeful all around.
So you're just gonna always have a reason for the whiteboard.
Yep.
Period. Thank you both. Annalisa, any final thoughts? Oh yeah, someone said congrats on 15K. Yeah, I saw that the other day. Thank you guys so much. I do actually appreciate it, but I've stopped looking at the numbers. Because I realize content creators can get stuck in sort of like trying to build. And I honestly like the fact that there's 800 people in here now is enough on its own. Like I think 800 people giving me 4 hours of their time is like more than anyone can ever ask for. And I know more people have more, but like no one should be able to ask for this and have it. So the fact that I have it is enough. Like I promise you that, like, thank you. I'm good. And Alicia?
I think you should be mindful that you have it because you've earned it and you deserve it. And it's always great content. It's always, for me, revelatory. I'm always learning something new. We always have amazing characters. Prince Petty, I didn't know you before, and it was nice talking to you and hearing your perspective and your opinions. I love coming here. I love engaging and reading. Like, just, I love learning things and I love understanding things. And I come here for that. When I feel like I want to know what's going on, or I need some mental or cognitive stimulation, intellectual stimulation, I seek out your channel. So you've earned it.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Now you buttering me up now. I feel all warm inside. I'm gonna go watch the last game of House of Dragons and smile. Thank you.
I don't want you to think about that. I just don't want you to worry about that guy. But I love all of you guys, and it's been amazing.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.